In the air, left field, and Pujols has given St. Louis the lead. A dramatic, towering 3-run home run.
Murray out of the pocket. 7 seconds. 6 seconds. Murray keeps it downfield. It's caught. It is caught. DeAndre Hopkins.
Kevin Durant way outside. Delivers. Kevin Durant from downtown. It's a 6-point game.
Ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant good evening. Welcome everybody, man, to another episode of the Lewis Sports Network. It is your boy Lewis coming back at you once again with another heavy hitter live stream with yet another video. Make sure before we get started, y'all do these simple things, man. Smash that like button, hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Make sure your notifications are turned on, and make sure you guys are sharing this on your social media platforms. I want to thank my guest Jay for coming in. I already left the link in the chat if you guys want to jump on in on these topics that we're about to talk about. Jay, man, salute to everybody in the chat, man. How's it going with you, bro?
Oh, everything's copacetic, man. I'm good. How about you?
Nah, man, everything's great, man. Been busy, things going on, and I know everybody is in the chat as well. Everybody got things going on, man. But listen, man, we back at it. We back at it. And look, the chat is getting lit already, man. So salute to everybody.
Yeah.
Let me just get
I want to say one thing to you, Lou. I want to say one thing, man. Shout out to your New York Giants, man. They've been balling, man, as of late. Shout out to them Giants.
Yeah, man. Like I said, man, I'm just happy that listen, I love what Joe Judge has brought to our team. I just love his coaching style. I just love what he's done with the culture. More importantly, though, I know everybody was getting on Dave Gettleman and they wanted him fired just because of how we started 1-7. But guess what? Now everybody's riding his coattails because we won 4 in a row and we lead the division now. So at the end of the day, again, I love the signing of James Bradbury. I thought it was an underrated pickup. I love the Logan Ryan signing. I thought I'm surprised some other teams didn't go after him. He's a good corner. Dexter Lawrence has played great for us. Leonard Williams, Jabril Peppers. I could go on and on.
Yeah, y'all defense is legit, man. Y'all got a pretty good defense.
Yeah, man. It's funny because coming into this season, I had questions of how we were going to be defensively more than offensively because I thought offensively, even though we didn't have a number one, I thought we were loaded in terms of our speed. And Daniel Jones, playing well as a quarterback, but, he struggled during the year. We've had injuries to Shepard and Slayton. And Evan Ingram is just a Jekyll and Hyde. 1 minute he can't catch a simple pass, but he catches all the difficult ones, which is what I don't understand from
Evan. He kind of remind me of Eric Ebron. He's the same way.
Yeah, and I got tired of Ebron because I got him on my fantasy team, and it's like this dude stayed dropping passes. I mean, like you was dropping passes at Washington.
Yeah, we hate him, man. We hate him in Detroit, man. We don't mess with Ebron. Yeah. Oh man, we call him Eric Peon. That's what we call him, Eric.
You got a peon, bro.
Yeah.
Yo, and it's like, because I don't like what he said, man. Ebron's coming out and he was like, he's like, oh, the fire's been lit because we lost it. Listen, man, the Washington football team is low-key been playing better too. And ever since Alex Smith took over in the starting lineup over Kyle Allen and Dwayne Haskins, they've actually been a better offensive team. Logan Thomas killed me, man, in fantasy when I was going up against somebody. They had him, man. He just had a crazy day, on Tuesday. And I'm gonna tell you right now, man, Pittsburgh is this is a very flawed 11-1 team. Very flawed. I know
been saying it. Yeah.
I just feel like with the schedule, they beat some real easy teams. They really haven't faced that many difficult. I mean, you can say that about a lot of football teams, but it's just because they have this number one defense. But I feel like it just kind of got built over some of these teams, and I don't trust them against the Bills on Sunday. I'm sorry, but I got the Bills beating them. I just think they're a better overall offense than them. A better overall offense. Their defense, the Bills' defense hasn't been great pretty much all year. I thought their defense was better last year, but I think this time though, I think their defense is going to get better and better as the season, starts to wind down. I think with them, so we'll see what they'll be in the playoffs. But I got to salute to everybody first. Shout out to Todd Zone, Godzone. Shout out to Michelle's daughter. Shout out to Brandon Nicholson.
Michelle's daughter, salute.
Yo, Giants ain't winning no Super Bowl. Listen, I would love that, but I know that's not happening. I don't know what Shaq is doing in AEW. I don't understand that. I know he's a huge wrestling fan.
He's a clout chaser.
Yeah. He's always been like that. Shout out to my main man Freddie Gee, Joel Hayward. What is good with you? Shout out to Ryan in the chat. Salute to everybody, man. We got a lot to talk about. Shout out to the other J from another J.
What's up, Jay?
You already know what I think about that one, man. All right, man. Now that we've gotten the salutations out the way. Oh, shout out to Tomoka also in the building. Appreciate you. Oh, shout out to my holy king. That's Chiefs. I already know who he is. So again, salute to you, bro. You think Buffalo's not ready? I don't know how they're going to be in the playoffs, but I think they're going to get better down the stretch. I got to see what they do in the playoffs. Cole Beasley has been a godsend for me in fantasy. He's played well. He's a
good receiver, great player.
Yeah. He's about to get 1,000 yards this year. So Stephon Diggs already got over 1,000. So he's about to get 1,000 himself. So a good, nice target. So, but the Bills got some good receivers on their team, though.
Well, I don't know. During playoffs, in playoffs, you can play that bump and run a little bit. They'll let you get away with certain things in the playoffs. So they kind of small too. They small receivers. So.
Yep. All right, man. So now that we got the pleasantries out the way, let's get it started. Let's get it popping. We are getting it in with these NBA topics, man. So we got to get started. I got to save the double S for last, and y'all know who I'm talking about. But to start us off, baby, we are going to start off with Russell Westbrook. And there was an article that I saw on, I think it was Fadeaway World, and they were talking, and this is why I put the title in my video, is Russell Westbrook Misunderstood. The reason I say that is because Russell has a tendency to make mistakes in late games. Russell has a tendency to sometimes not always play hard. He's been known as a stat padder. He kind of gets ripped by the media a lot. But players have come out into the defense of Russ. Even Kevin Durant, who a lot of people just dislike because of what he did to Russ by leaving OKC and going to Golden State, but they all came out and said that Russ was a great teammate. And Enes Kanter came out and said that Russell was the best teammate that he ever had. Paul George said that he enjoyed his time with Russ because Paul George said that Russ allowed him to be him. Yes, Boy George said that. And Kevin Durant, like I said, is that, just because things didn't work out didn't mean that Russ wasn't, a great teammate. So, I'm going to ask you, Jay, and I'm going to also ask you to the chat, is Russ misunderstood? Do you think he's a great locker room guy, or do you feel like he could be a locker room cancer? And do you think that his criticism is more so on his play, that they start to criticize his character, or otherwise? What you think, man?
I think it is, man. I'm gonna say this about Westbrook. Like, he's my favorite player in the NBA, man. And I'm gonna say this: Westbrook always had leadership characteristics. He always been a great leader, no doubt about that. My only issue was about his play. Like during crunch time, his IQ awareness has always been pathetic. It's always been poor. But as far as his leadership style, it's excellent, man. His teammates love him. Look what he did with Steven Adams, man. He took up for him in that post-game conference they had. I forgot that series they was in. But he took up for his guy, man. A lot of players ain't going to do that, man. He always been a great leader. That's why I respect Westbrook. I fuck with Westbrook. That's my guy.
All right, man. Much respect. And here's what I gotta say about Russ real quick. And this is why that I kind of have some sympathy over Russ more. My criticism of Westbrook, and you guys know this, man. I've said this all the time. I've always said Russ is a dynamic talent, and I'm one of Russ's biggest fans. Like, I want him to do well, and I want him to win a championship. My issue with Russ has always been he tends to focus on the mano-a-mano matchup when it comes to players psyching him out. So my issue when I always watch Westbrook play is not what he could do on the court, but it's really so about his mental prowess. What does he do late in games? About, what does he do with his decision making? Like, that's what I've always questioned about Westbrook. It's not that he doesn't have talent. I always call him, he's one of the most dynamic talents that the league has ever seen. Like, Russell, and the thing is, he was praised about, Jay said this the other day, Russ was praised for his defense when he was in college. It's kind of like he's gotten away from that in the NBA. And the thing is, Russ is more than capable of being one of the best defenders at his position. Okay, so it's the truth. He's one of the best at his position, and he can be. But the thing is, he just chooses not to be. And the thing is also, when he was getting these triple doubles, I know guys were saying like, oh, Russell Westbrook, what he's doing is historic. It's like, if it's so easy, why can't anybody do it? I said, you have to really watch how Russell gets his. The thing is, we already know Russ can score. It's so easy. Listen, Russ can score, put the ball in the basket. Russ is very hard to stop in transition. We know that. Attack the basket. But you have to also, and Russ can also get to the free throw line, so that's another thing as well. But what you also got to understand is when you look at his assists, like when he was at OKC, you have to ask yourself, were they ever really moving the basketball? Even when Kevin Durant was there, that's what you have to watch their style of play. And I'm gonna get into it a little bit in terms of the whole 2016 thing as we get into the LeBron Kyrie segment, in a little bit. But getting back to what I was saying with Russ, when you watch OKC play when Durant and Westbrook and Harden and even to a extent Serge Ibaka, like when those guys were together, did they really move the ball? And it's like no. And even when KD left, yeah, they weren't as talented, but they really didn't have a system. The ball was the Russell Westbrook system. And people were saying, well, Russ is like kind of like a watered down Oscar Robertson 2.0 in terms of the whole points, rebounds, assistant. Because guess what? Russell Westbrook did it 3 years in a row. And you got to kind of ask yourself, if you're focused on getting triple doubles, don't you think that it's going to kind of be a little bit easier, especially like when you're ball dominant, number one? Also, if you look at the way Russ gets his rebounds, I mean, Steven Adams, who, in my opinion, is easily 10 rebounds per season.
Easily, yeah.
He was only averaging he was averaging a little bit less than that. And part of the reason was because of what Russ was getting with defensive rebounds, which is what helped him. Let me say this real quick. Russ is a very good offensive rebounder. He's very good. And offensive rebounds are harder to get than defensive rebounds. But remember, defensive rebounds, they inflate the more you get defensive rebounds, especially when your defense is doing the work. It's called boxing out, which is what bigs do. They box out. And because of that, if their job is to box out and you're near the ball, guess what? You're going to get the rebound. So, that's what it is. So that's basically what it is. So now I got to defend Russ, and I got to get to this prima donna, a.k.a. James Hardhead, because let me tell you about this cat, man. Russell Westbrook is misunderstood, and this is why I actually have to defend Russ in this situation, because now I got to get to James Harden. And I want to get your thoughts on this, Jay, and also you guys in the chat. And again, salute to Anthony L. and salute to Michelle's daughter with the donations. I truly appreciate you. Like I said, prayer emojis up. Blessings to you both. Again, God bless both of you guys, man. Thank you so much. Shout out to LBJ King in the chat. Appreciate you. So, Jay, let me ask you a question, man. Mm-hmm. If James Harden gets Dwight Howard, if James Harden has played with Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook, if James Harden gets a trade for CP3, right? Then James Harden plays with Russ again, this time as superstars together on the same team, and you fail time and time and time and time and time and time again. Are we going to say that it's Dwight Howard's fault? Are we going to say that it's CP3's fault? Are we going to say it's Russ's fault? And do you remember when Carmelo Anthony was put into that Houston Rockets situation and how quickly he got dismissed? So now James Harden wants out. So let me ask this. And the owner of the Rockets, which I just think he's a dodo head. I really think he's a dodo head.
Oh, man.
But I will say that if I was him, what I would do in this situation is that I wouldn't give Harden what he wants. I would not give Harden what he wants, especially with the fact that James Harden has time and time again failed in the playoffs. But yet Russell Westbrook immediately gets traded after 1 year. So let me ask you, whose fault is it? Is it Chris Paul's fault, Dwight Howard's fault, Carmelo Anthony's fault, Russ's fault, or is it James Harden's fault?
It's James Harden. Plain and simple. It's Harden. It's all on James Harden. He's a prima donna. He's a prima donna, man. He never won anything in the NBA. Hasn't won shit. Everything always gotta be based off of what he does, and it's not right, man. He throws everybody under the bus. It's like he can't do any harm. He can't do any wrong at all. You know what I'm saying? Them guys that he had, they was great teammates, man, and he just throws them under the bus time and time again. I'm sick of it.
Check this out. So James Harden was out partying.
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah,
he was out partying with he was celebrating Lil Baby's birthday.
Lil Baby, yeah.
And then from there he went to Vegas. And then from what I'm hearing from the NBA is he has to go through 6 negative COVID tests in order for him to be able to practice with the team. First of all, if James Harden ain't practicing with the team and he's going out there partying, what does that tell you? Does that tell you that James Harden really loves the Houston Rockets and does he want to be there? Does he really want to be there? And the answer is no. Hold on, did the screen freeze? It looked like the screen froze on Jay's end. Let me see. Yeah, looks like, yeah. No, yeah. So hopefully Jay could get that. Looks like. Oh yeah, it was.
Yeah. I'm good. I'm back.
All right, man. Shout out to Z Smooth in the chat. Shout out to Ty Zone Godzone. Yo, and I'm just like, yo, I'm just sick. I'm just sick of James Harden, man, because it's a shame that people were overglorifying him as being the best scorer, arguably in NBA history. When you look at some of his numbers, they're kind of inflated, and I don't really feel that they're efficient because it's volume scoring, especially if you look at James Harden's play style.
No.
But what really bothers me is that I get that you don't want to be in Houston, but why you got to be so unprofessional about it? Especially with the fact that you want to see. Why do you think he wants to go to Philadelphia so bad?
Because his daddy's gone. His daddy's gone. He wants to go where his daddy's at in Brooklyn.
He want to be with Mike He want to be with Mike D'Antoni because he knows Mike D'Antoni, Steve Nash. What are they about? Offense. What are they not known for? Defense. So you know he's gonna want to go there. And if I'm Brooklyn, I stay away from that because that's a cancer waiting to happen. KD and Kyrie, for me, I got to get it done with them. I'm sorry. James Harden proved to me in his time in Houston he could carry you in the regular season. He could carry you in the regular season, but he's not going to get you far in the postseason. And if you look at some of his, I just can't stand when people keep saying that James Harden showed up. Listen, I understand some of the numbers that he's put up in the last couple of seasons, but what do they mean if you're not there in crunch time moments? That's what I criticize him. First of all, there was no Andre Iguodala in 2018, and even without Chris Paul and Kevin Durant playing horrible in those Western Conference Finals, you had a 3-2 lead, and you was up by double digits in both games. Y'all team missed 27 straight threes, and y'all lost by 9 points. You gonna tell me that just because Chris Paul was out, you didn't win? No, I'm sorry. I can't even do that. First of all. Second, then Kevin Durant gets injured with his Achilles, and I'm saying to myself, okay, finally Houston got him. No excuses. They got Chris Paul. They got James Harden. Steph Curry is held scoreless in the first half. Y'all let him go off for 33 second half points, and then y'all lose without KD. That told me enough. And I said, once they got rid of Chris Paul and they get Russell Westbrook, I said, no disrespect to Russ, but you put in two ball dominant players together, and I kept telling y'all, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, Mike D'Antoni. That's all that needs to be said to let you know that they ain't gonna win. They're not gonna win. I'm sorry. And at the end of the day, I got to give an apology to Russ because Russ took a step back. He did. I know he's injured, and I know I was a little bit critical of him, but I'm gonna give him a little bit of a pass for this reason. It's because James Harden, no matter who you put him with, you got to ask yourself, what really? And let me ask you, Jay, how do you think James Harden can really play with a team that really complements him to win a championship? I just don't see it. Do you?
I don't see it either. I mean, I said this a long time ago. The only way James Harden can ever win a championship in this league, he has to be like a third option on a championship team. He has to be the third option. He has to be.
So in other words, he's got to be the Robin's Robin, right?
Right, correct. That's the only way. Same thing with Westbrook. Them two guys are like the same player to me. They both have to be third options on a championship team if they want to win, if they really care about winning the title.
And my thing is, and I think Harden to me is kind of willing to be the Robin's Robin. At first I thought so, but then it's like when I look at Brooklyn, I said, Kyrie Irving, nah, you're going to have to be a Robin's Robin. You can't even be a Robin next to KD with Kyrie on that team. I'm sorry.
Nah, it's not going to happen. Hell no, it's not going to work. Yeah.
And listen, and there's already, and again, shout out to everybody in the chat. There's already reports saying that Nash ain't trying to trade Spencer Dinwiddie, so I don't know who they're going to get rid of.
I wouldn't trade him either. I wouldn't trade LeVert or him. I wouldn't trade none of my young prospects. No, not for no James Harden.
Okay.
Crazy.
So Anthony L says, at this point, it may not be a bad idea if Harden goes to Brooklyn. I hate super teams, but at least in Brooklyn's case, if one of those guys get hurt, at least they have insurance. My only problem with that is, I understand what you're saying, Anthony L. I'm just afraid of what, again, because I don't know what Steve Nash and Mike D'Antoni are going to meet. They're going to need a defensive coordinator. It's clear as day that they need one because they are about offense. Steve Nash was not really known as a defender. Mike D'Antoni, we already know he's not about defensive teams because his teams have always finished in the bottom 20s and even last in defense. Mike, Mike Antonius, I gotta call him because you can't even put the D in Antoni because he plays no defense.
Stoudemire ain't no defensive specialist. He was never a great defender, so I don't know why he's there.
I'm always another one. So I'm like, what are they really going to tell these guys that they don't really know, honestly? I mean, I could just see really pick and roll because that's what National Stoudemire were known for. So pick and roll, I mean, they could do pick and pop, but
I mean, they can do it. They got great offensive talent. I mean, they got Kyrie and Durant. I mean, they really don't need no plays for them guys, man.
Oh, Jay Smooth says that James Harden has got to be the Chris Bosh. Yeah, exactly. He's got to be number 3. He's got to be the Kevin Love.
Perfect scenario. That's a perfect one right there, Z Smooth. Hell yeah, I agree with that. 100%.
Z Smooth is speaking facts. That's what he's got to be, bro. James Harden needs a Klay Thompson to win a championship, right? Because Klay is a number 2. He's in at least he had to be the third option because of KD, but K is a legit number 2, and Klay proved that he's a legit number 2. So
yeah, he's legit.
And shout out to Tomoko. He says, I like the new profile pic, and I like that you put a logo at the top right corner of your screen. It looks nice. Did you get that idea from me? Actually, no, I actually came up with that myself. I saw I had a logo maker on my phone, and I saw this like nice crown. And so what I did was I removed the background of one of my pictures that you can see right there on the right corner. So that's my new logo now. So like if you guys like it, man, let me know in the comments. But I appreciate what you said about that, Tomoko. I like the design, so I said let me just put that touch like right on top of the picture, and I think it looks good. So I'm gonna keep it for a while unless I see something better, man. But like Jay said in the comments section, they need to keep those young pieces. I wouldn't trade it. Like I said, work with what you have. Like why would you try to demolish it just to try to appease a quote unquote superstar's needs when he couldn't even take care of the needs that he got? Because I'm gonna say this, man. The Houston Rockets in James Harden time, they did everything for him. They brought in as much talent as possible, and James Harden just didn't get it done. I'm sorry, he just didn't. They did everything they could for LaMarcus. I'm sorry.
Sometimes you gotta look yourself in the mirror and be like, "Hey, man, I'm the problem. It's time to move on from James Harden. If I'm the Houston Rockets organization, get rid of him."
Okay. I hate the notion that you're not clutch if you don't produce on demand. One play doesn't win games. I used to be hard on Harden, but what he's doing ain't easy. Well, I'm gonna say this, man. The thing is, what you got to understand is, I'm not worried so much about scoring when it comes to James Harden. Basically, it's not. I'm not asking you. I mean, look, if you're capable of doing, let's say you're able to score like 15 points in the fourth quarter or something, that's fine. You're not always going to have your shot. My thing is, are you affecting the game in other ways? And I feel like James Harden could at least try to show intangibles. He can't do that if he doesn't score the basketball. If he doesn't get to the free throw line, like is he playing solid defense on the opposing offensive player?
If he's not scoring, he's useless on the court, man. He's a liability.
And that's all I'm saying, man. Like when I think of clutch, it's not just making clutch baskets, man. You can make clutch defensive stops, man. You could get big rebounds, man. You could get a big steal. You know, you could die for loose balls. Like that's basically what I'm saying. Your intangibles make up for when you're not able to score the ball when you struggle. And James Harden can't do that. He's useless on the court if he doesn't score. That's my point. So yeah, you don't have to be clutch on demand, bro. So I get all that. And I know people are talking about LaMarcus Aldridge, but let me say about no disrespect to LaMarcus Aldridge, good player. And when he was with Portland, he had some good playoff games, but after that, especially, and I'm gonna say this again, especially when he went to San Antonio, even with a number 2 DeRozan, LaMarcus Aldridge couldn't even put up numbers with a number 2 player in DeRozan as being the number 1 on San Antonio.
Because LaMarcus Aldridge is not a number 1 to me. I don't think he was never a number 1.
LaMarcus is not a number 1 player. I feel like he's a number 3. I feel like LaMarcus is at least is a number 3. He's a Robin too. He just tends to disappear in the playoffs too. He's another one. Shout out to Josh, man. Appreciate you, man, in the chat. But nah, I disagree. LaMarcus cannot challenge AD. AD is way more talented and he's much more dependable. AD could put up playoff numbers. LaMarcus Aldridge, that's like once in like a 9 or 10 game stretch. At least with Anthony Davis, he's much more consistent. I can't say that about LaMarcus Aldridge. 1 minute he could give you like a 40-20 game, which is what he did back in Portland, and then after that, you'd never hear from him again.
Mm-hmm.
And even if him stretching the floor, it's just his style of play is not tailor-made for the playoffs. It's just not. It's just not. And the thing is, if you look at today's NBA, the big man is not the focus of a championship team. It's your wings. I told y'all, man. It's a wings league. It's your guards and a forwards league at this juncture of the game right now. Your bigs are actually your now second or third best players. So they could be dynamic, but it goes through the wing right now. AD can't. I disagree with that one, my holy king. I can't. Nah, I can't. DeRozan. Oh no, you can't compare DeRozan to KD. And this is how you can't compare to him. I don't like DeRozan's mentality. Like, especially when he goes up against LeBron, he gets scared of him. I don't care if
it's like he was scared of that damn intruder that came to his house.
Man, you went deep, bro.
I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna leave DeRozan alone, man. I'm gonna leave him alone.
I know he's had a rough break, bro.
Yeah.
James Harden plays basketball. James Harden doesn't understand basketball.
He doesn't, man. He's a playground legend. That's who James Harden is.
Ooh, goddamn, bro. Jay says PG will be the Robin with Kawhi and Harden.
Goddamn.
Ooh, goddamn.
Boy, shots fired.
Freddie Gee says Harden is one of the best passers in the NBA, though his playmaking is top 5 of the league. Definitely is, but the thing is, when he doesn't score, sometimes he gets away from that playmaking, though. And sometimes when he plays off ball, he tends to stand around. So the ball's got to be in his hands to make plays. And it's like I said before, he's a very good playmaker when he makes plays. I'm not denying that. I'm just talking about there's other things you could do on the court, man. So you gotta.
He has to make a play when there's 2 seconds on the shot clock because 20 seconds of it, he's damn near dribbling the ball. Shit.
And that's the thing, man. You can't do that, bro. Hey, shout out to Kenneth Wright, man. Appreciate you coming through in the stream. Appreciate you. Anthony L says Harden was partying with Miami Heat players after losing to the Heat. He was younger then, but his mind needs to be focused on pursuing a chip and stop chasing meaningless records.
Stop going over there partying with little baby, man. Focus on the game of basketball. It's lame ass.
I'm sorry. He's not even focused on. You're right. He's a number 3. Yeah, he's the third best player. He is the third best player.
Partying with a little baby, man. Should be ashamed of yourself, Harden.
Come on, dude. Like, you're better than that, man. Again, guys, like the video, make sure to share on your social media platforms and make sure to hit that subscribe button if you have not. If you're new to the channel, truly appreciate it. So, Chase will say James Harden needs to go to the Euro League.
Oh shit!
He can make a lot of money over there. True.
Yeah.
And can't believe we turned it down. So let me ask you, man. All right, now we're gonna get into the whole LeBron and Kyrie saga, man. And there's just a couple of things I got to pinpoint on this one, man, because some of the things that LeBron was saying, I'm just scratching my head, man. It's like, yo, sometimes you bring this on yourself. Sometimes you bring this on yourself, dude. Okay. All right. So according to LeBron James, he said that he was hurt by what Kyrie said about the whole thing of LeBron. Finally, he's playing with a clutch player in Kevin Durant. And again, yo, shout out to Tyree, man. $20 1999 donation, man. I truly appreciate it. Tyree, blessings to you, my man. Blessings to you, my brother. Appreciate that with the donation. Salute to you, my friend. But all right, so LeBron said that he was hurt by basically Kyrie kind of like saying that this is the first time in his career that he's playing with another guy that he could say that he could make that shot in Kevin Durant. And so LeBron said that he felt he was hurt by that when Kyrie was on a radio podcast, and he had mentioned about that 2 months ago. What's your thoughts on what LeBron was basically saying about how he was hurt by what Kyrie said? And as a matter of fact, LeBron even said that I wanted the best for Kyrie, and I wanted him to be the MVP of the league. Go ahead, take it away.
Man, he's capping. LeBron is capping big time, man. He didn't care about no damn Kyrie Irving. Matter of fact, he was the one that wanted him gone. He didn't even defend him when they was trying to trade him to the Celtics for Isaiah Thomas. LeBron got so much power, he could have stopped that trade from happening, but he let that shit go through. Like, he don't care about Kyrie like that.
All right, so basically what so then what you were saying was that because according to what LeBron said that he said he literally called the front office, which I know he didn't, because again,
I ain't believing that, man.
Rich Paul was pretty much doing the handling, and he said that he didn't want that to happen. But I'm saying, like, yo, LeBron has a lot of power in Cleveland. I mean, you definitely could have stopped that, man.
He could have stopped that easily.
He could have stopped.
Come on, man.
Like,
He's capping, man. He don't care about no Kyrie Irving.
Yeah. Oh no, there's definitely something wrong with Kyrie. Kyrie is a weird dude. That's a fact. I'm not even gonna sit here and deny that. Kyrie is like all over the place when it comes to his mindset and the stuff that he says. Like sometimes I just gotta look at Kyrie, man. I'm just like, what is up with this dude, man?
And how you gonna have Kyrie? And like the last statement he made, I was trying to win Kyrie or MVP. I was trying to get him an MVP. How you gonna do that when you have the ball 98% of the time?
But I'm gonna say this. Listen, but I'm gonna say this about LeBron James too. Didn't you just win the NBA championship? Didn't you just win the Finals MVP? Why are you concerned about what Kyrie's got to say in terms of like what his opinion is? Honestly,
right.
LeBron, you should. My thing is, LeBron, you should be happy. You should be happy.
Why is he worried about what Kyrie say about you? Who cares? You just won an NBA championship, like you said. A fake championship in the bubble, which shouldn't even count. That's not even a legitimate championship.
But the thing is also, man, I knew LeBron was going to do this because I know. Look who he had on this podcast: Channing Frye, former teammate; Richard Jefferson, former teammate. You know that they're going to make a big deal out of this. And Stephen A. Snake, another simp. Then he goes off. He goes off. Whatchamacallit? He goes off on Kyrie for what he said, and I'm like, dude, you threw a tantrum 2 months after Kyrie said this. It just lets you know it. Kyrie said this 2 months ago, and because LeBron is on the Road Tripping podcast with Allie Clifton, I kind of find it weird that girl was covering LeBron in his last season, and the minute he goes to LA, then she goes to LA. I don't know. There's just something going on with that. But basically, what I'm basically saying is that why is it that you're getting all upset at Kyrie Irving, like when you get upset at LeBron all the time? So my thing is, you keep trying to appease both sides, Stephen A. Simp. So I don't understand you, bro.
Yeah, he's a hypocrite, man.
So that's why I said that Stephen A. Snitch, you a hypocrite, bro. You're just a hypocrite. I'm sorry. So basically now, like, my thing is that LeBron really shouldn't care. He should not care. You have Anthony Davis. You're an NBA champion. You just won the NBA title. You were the Finals MVP after you were complaining, saying that you didn't win the regular season MVP, which you felt you was the MVP of the regular season in your opinion, because you were pissed off about it. But you got the championship and the Finals MVP. Your fourth Finals MVP in your career, fourth ring, 4 regular season MVPs. The only question that I'm having is that why is LeBron trying to validate himself so much? Because what that basically tells me is that you're insecure about your legacy. That's what that's telling me every time.
He has insecurities. He has insecurity issues. He also is a narcissist.
Freddie G said, I'm not even going to get on Carpi Irving. Capri. Oh, sorry. Capri. My bad.
Yeah, he's a true narcissist, man. LeBron James. Yep.
All right. Tyree says LeBron just put the media back on Kyrie, so Kyrie will get the Kobe treatment for the remainder of his career. So well played by LeBron. I told you, man, this is all ploy, man. This is all ploy.
I can't wait till he retires, man. I'm so sick of hearing about him.
Like my thing with LeBron is that, yeah, but it's a little bit different at LBJ King when Michael, the whole thing with MJ in terms of the whole personal thing, that was a way for MJ to motivate himself to play in terms of that. Maybe listen, I don't know. Maybe MJ really felt that way when it comes to Dan Marley and all that kind of stuff because of his relationship with Jerry Krause. But at the end, like I said, he just used that as motivation to do on the basketball court. And like I said, if LeBron is upset that he got his feelings hurt against Kyrie, when you meet up with Kyrie, when you go up against the Brooklyn Nets, you take it out on the court. That's all you do.
Yeah, punish his ass.
You let Kyrie know, I don't appreciate what you said. And I'm gonna prove to you why you needed me to win championships. That's the mindset that you got to have if you're LeBron James. Wait, it doesn't matter what opinions if like. Oh,
and that's what I loved about Jordan. He didn't do all that talking, man. He let his play do the talking. When he sees you, when he saw you on the court, he gonna handle his business, and that's what MJ did. He handled his business on the court. He wasn't talking to the media like a punk.
Because LeBron got to look at it this way. if you outperform Kyrie Irving, like if you sun Kyrie on the court, you don't think the media is going to get on Kyrie even more because of the fact that y'all past relationship? Because the thing is, what people got to understand is the way that LeBron and Kyrie played, they played my turn, your turn basketball. That's how they played. It wasn't really no structured offense. They didn't really play a system. It was just my turn, your turn offense, man. That's it. But I'm gonna say this about Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving, I'm sorry, he has to really prove that he could be a really good team player this upcoming season with Brooklyn, because what he did in Boston, it's just not going to fly, man, because he proved that he was not that great of a teammate and he was kind of a cancer. As a matter of fact, he took some of LeBron's behavior and he put it on the Boston Celtics, and that's why that ain't. And I mean, remember, because he said that he wanted to stay, but quote unquote, but he knew he didn't want to be there because that was not one of the teams he chose. He just got traded there by Cleveland. Why? Because of the whole trade situation. Okay, now that we've gotten LeBron and Kyrie thing out the way, let me get back to LeBron and Kyrie more in terms of this. According to LeBron James says that the 2016 NBA title and the 2020 NBA title that just happened in this pandemic were his two most hardest championships that he has, well, according to him in terms of the team, because he didn't even say him, he said the team, the team has ever won in his career. What's your thoughts on what LeBron said about that the 2016 and 2020 NBA championship were the hardest championships of his career that he won?
Man, he's capping on that too, man. I don't believe nothing that he be saying, man. All he does is cap. That's it, man. Come on, that 2016 championship, get the hell out of here, man. That was in your favor. Come on, bro. You had Draymond Green that was suspended for a game. That helped out. Andrew Bogut, that was the game changer right there. That was the series changer. When he went down with that injury, I said it. When he went down with that injury, Cleveland's going to win that championship because he was their only interior presence that they had on that roster, man. I like Draymond Green is a great defender, but interior-wise, Andrew Bogut was that guy, man. Just watch game 1 and 2 of that series. LeBron was scared to go to the basket when Bogut was on that floor. But as soon as he went down, that's all LeBron was doing, attacking the paint. So he had it easy. And in that 2020 championship, come on, man. It was the Miami Heat. They had no business being there. Bro, if that was under regular circumstances, the Miami Heat wouldn't even got to the finals. Flat out. They wouldn't even made it there on regular circumstances. They wouldn't have never got there. So he's capping.
Okay. All right, you heard it from Jay. LBJ is capping in his opinion. This is what I'm gonna say, man. Listen. 2016. Let me talk about the Golden State Warriors real quick when it comes to that 2016 NBA title. Let's look at the 2016 playoffs on the road to the NBA Finals. In 2016, the Cavs won 57 games, right? They should have won 60 plus games considering how they started. They started the season 30-8. This is something that nobody talks about.
Right.
They finished with 57 wins. All right, that's it's a pretty good season. Mm-hmm. They faced the Detroit Pistons. That team won 44 games. And let me ask you a question: were the Detroit Pistons? Yes, Jay, your Pistons, the team that had Andre Drummond and Stanley Johnson and them boys. Yeah. Were the Detroit Pistons going to beat the Cleveland Cavaliers when you compare them on paper by talent? Absolutely not.
Hell no.
I even said that was a 4-game sweep. And what happened? That was a 4-game sweep.
It was a 4-game sweep. Even though it was a competitive 4-game sweep, it was still a 4-game sweep.
It was still a 4-game sweep. Okay. Second round. They faced the Atlanta Hawks, the same team that they swept the previous year when Atlanta won 60 games. And I'm going to say this again. Take a look at that Atlanta Hawks team. Are you really telling me that Jeff Teague is as talented as Kyrie? He's not even in his ballpark, right?
Fuck no.
You're talking about Paul Millsap, Al Horford, and Kyle Korver, who was in the starting lineup. He ended up playing with LeBron eventually. But my point is this. Is Kyle Korver is a great three-point shooter, catch and shoot three-point shooter. He's perfect for a LeBron type system because of his style of play. But let me ask you, are you telling me that Kyle Korver is an all-star? He's not.
No.
He got it because of the season that the Atlanta Hawks were having. is Paul Millsap really an all-star?
No, none of them guys are all-star. Well, Al Horford maybe.
Al Horford is kind of a maybe.
But that's reaching though. Yeah.
I'm sorry. No.
Yeah.
So that's just reaching. Okay, so they sweep them in 4 games, just like they did in the Eastern Conference Finals. That Atlanta team only won 48 games. Did we really think the Atlanta Hawks were a championship team and they could challenge the Cavs? No, they weren't going to challenge the Cavs. And then this is Freddie's favorite team, the LeBronto Raptors. They put in DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry, Eastern Conference Finals.
Ooh.
First of all, that 6-game series wasn't even really that competitive because I felt like, once again,
man, that should have been a sweep.
That should have been a 4-game sweep because the crazy part is the next 2 years when Toronto won 50 games, and then they had the best record in the East, they still got swept, even without Kyrie Irving by the time he was gone. So that's why I said when you really use the eye test, were the Toronto Raptors of Dwayne Casey, Kyle Lowry, and DeMar DeRozan, were they really going to challenge the Cleveland Cavaliers? The Cleveland Cavaliers were better. They don't have a LeBron James on their team. They don't even have a Kyrie Irving on their team. And Kevin Love is better than a lot of players on that Raptors team.
And Dwayne Casey can't not coach for shit. He doesn't know how to make adjustments.
Freddie Gee said, take it easy on the Hawks, fam. Listen, with all due respect,
hey, trash.
I'm just talking about who LeBron went against, man. That's it.
And the Hawks garbage, man. Who cares, Freddie G?
With all due respect, my friend. With all due respect, my friend. So basically, yeah. So when you look at that 2016, playoff run, Cleveland finished 12-2. They finished 12-2. That really nobody was really pushing, and those 2 wins were really fluke wins with the Raptors because Cleveland was a better team than they were. They just kind of took the foot off the gas pedal because look, this is how you know that they were defeated. I think it was game 1 or game 2. I think Toronto started okay. They went on a decent run or whatever. That's when Valanciunas was on team. I remember at one point Cleveland went on a crazy run. Kyle Lowry was so out of it that the man had to take a mental break. Some dudes were like, "Oh, he going to the bathroom." No, he mentally checked out. He mentally checked out. I've never heard of a player. I don't care in the years I've watched basketball. I've never heard of a player had to take a mental break in the middle of a basketball game, in a playoff game. I've never heard of that. And Kyle Lowry did that. At first, it was because I thought he needed to use the bathroom. No, he mentally needed to check out because he was wondering why the Raptors were struggling so much against the Cavaliers. And it's pretty simple. They could not beat the Cavaliers because they were not talented. They don't have anybody to check LeBron. They don't even have anybody to check even a Kyrie. And as good as Kyle Lowry is, he's a good player. There's just no way. No way that he's going to – Kyrie is a difficult cover for Kyle Lowry just because of how crafty Kyrie is.
Yeah, he just don't have foot speed. Yeah, Kyle Lowry just didn't have the foot speed to keep up with a Kyrie Irving. Yeah.
Bro, that was just mental right there. That was a mental illness right there, man. I'm sorry, man. Sorry. And so when you look at it, then you got to look at the Golden State Warriors. All right, going to them. Golden State, they looked like they was gonna make a run after that 73-9 season. If y'all remember game 1 against the Rockets, I remember Patrick Beverley was getting in Steph's face. Steph injures his ankle. He misses the rest of game 1, and Steph was cooking in that game, but he got hurt. He misses games 2 and 3. He comes in game 4. He's struggling a little bit, right? Then he injures he sprains his MCL in game 4 on a wet spot. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, the Warriors ain't going to win the championship. They're not going to go for it because if he sprains his MCL, who knows how long he's out for. So, and I said that I wonder how long he's going to be out with that injury. Yep, Freddie, the LeBronto Raptors. LeBron owns that team. It's a fact. The LeBronto Raptors own that team. So, yeah, so getting back on that. So then if you look at the Warriors, they had to change their style of play. So now Klay Thompson was the number 1 option for a little bit. Mm-hmm. That's what people forget. And shout out to Omar Davis in the chat, man. I see you, bro. But they had to change their style of play. And shout out to Chum as well. They had to change their style of play, and they were more defensive oriented probably than ever. So like they didn't even get to play that free flowing offense. Like they had to play more half court. They really had to play more half court. So the threes were not coming. The threes were not coming like as much as they were. So they really had to really force and play more half court basketball. And even when Steph came back, and I get it, he was saying he's back. I remember he had that historic game 4 where he scored like 17 overtime points, and he had that 40-point game. I still said that even though Steph did that, I felt like he did that out of adrenaline. I really didn't feel like that was within the flow because he struggled early part of the game trying to shake off Russ, right? But they beat the Rockets in 5. They beat the Blazers in a tough 5-game series because the games were close. Like they weren't, and part of it because they had to change their style when Steph Curry was not there. So the games were really closer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then they go to the Western Conference Finals and they go up against Oklahoma City. And this is where we're going to be talking about Kevin Durant. Now check this out. This is where the 3-1 stuff gets overrated for both KD and LeBron James when it comes to the Golden State and Steph Curry.
All right.
Jay, can you tell the people in the chat and the people at home who was in control of that series between OKC and Golden State?
OKC was in control of that series by far.
They were up how many games in that series?
They was up 3-1.
They was up 3-1. Now, let me tell you something about the Oklahoma City Thunder 2016. They only won 55 games. Mm-hmm. But when you put things into historical perspective, people forget the Spurs won 67 games that year.
They sure
that was
did.
The second best record in the NBA.
And guess what?
Conference.
And guess what, Lou? They only lost 1 game at home that season. They was 40-1 at home.
They tied the Boston Celtics for the best record at home that season. 67-15, 40-1 at home.
Yep.
The State wins 73 games, right?
Yes.
Oklahoma City wins 55 games, but guess what, y'all? They blew 18 games in which they were up by double digits. So you mean to tell me that OKC possibly doesn't get close to 70? You're looking at they were on pace. If they had not blown those leads, you're looking at a 67-70 win pace for OKC.
Yeah.
But does anybody talk about that? No, they don't.
No.
And let me tell you this right now. OKC killed Golden State. They killed Golden State in games 3 and 4 in OKC. They had issues.
They murdered them, man.
They could not. Listen, Golden State could not rebound. Golden State was struggling to shoot in the ball. OKC was getting very physical with them, and OKC was out rebounding them, killing them on the boards. And KD and Russ were using their talent. So when you combine all that, the Warriors were struggling. So the Warriors were not in control of the series the first 4 games.
It was so bad. It was so bad at one point. I thought Steph Curry was going to have a mental breakdown, man.
And that's what it looked like because Steph was really struggling in the beginning. But now we go to games 5, 6, and 7. And this is where KD and Russ really let the series get away and let the Warriors make adjustments. Because why? The Warriors were in control in games 5, 6, and 7. And why? Because what the Thunder did was they decided to play hero ball. Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook decided to take turns instead of trying to move the basketball and try to get everybody else involved. When you stay making predictable plays, eventually smarter, more higher IQ basketball teams are going to adjust. The Warriors did that. Klay Thompson and Steph Curry played out of desperation. They came alive. They got challenged, and guess what happened? OKC blew a 3-1 lead when they should have beaten Golden State, and they lost the series. And Golden State went on to the NBA Finals.
Yeah, I also thought they wasn't aggressive, man. For games 5, 6, and 7. I think they took their foot off the gas.
Right.
Yeah.
So they weren't aggressive. They were playing some sloppy basketball. They were turning the ball over, and then look at that. So KD, in my opinion, KD and Russ could have been in the NBA Finals, and we could have had a KD versus LeBron. We could have had it. And I said that KD had a better shot at making more history than LeBron James did, and I'm going to tell you why. Because KD was in the vaunted Western Conference along with the Warriors. When we always look at when we compare the East to the West, we always say that the NBA Finals are in the Western Conference. And you can make a case that the NBA Finals was OKC against Golden State, just with how things turned out, right? All right. So OKC blows a 3-1 lead in historic fashion. So then now I got to go to the Cleveland Cavaliers of 2016. If OKC is arguably more talented, they have more size than Golden State. Shout out to Alex Sports in the building. Then I got to ask you this question, Jay. Why did the Cleveland Cavaliers go down 3-1 if Oklahoma City was up 3-1 on Golden State?
It's simple. You just said it. OKC was more talented than the Cleveland Cavaliers. We know that, man. That Western Conference was the NBA Finals, in my opinion. And the only reason why Cleveland won that series, like I told you earlier, because of a luck. A lot of luck had that happen. Andrew Bogut injury, the Draymond Green suspension. Like all that played a part in that comeback.
So let me ask you this, because I got to say this as well. OKC may be more talented than Cleveland, but then now when you put because remember, when LeBron James lost in 2015, it was because there was no Kyrie and there was no Kevin Love. And they had a 2-1 lead against Golden State, and they ended up going 6, where they ended up losing in 6. LeBron James, out of his mouth, after they lost Game 5 and Curry had that big game, he says, I'm the best player in the world. I'm confident because I'm the best player in the world. And then he also said he felt that the Cavaliers could push it to 7. Yeah. Okay, they didn't get it done, right? Without those guys. Right. You got a healthy Kyrie, and then you get a healthy Kevin Love. I think Kevin Love got a concussion. I think it was in Game 2, and he missed Game 3. Okay. But basically what I'm saying is that you blew out Golden State in Game 3 by 30 points after you lost the first 2 games badly, especially Game 2. And that was with a mediocre Steph Curry. First of all, Draymond, you got to think about this. Imagine if the Cleveland Cavaliers lost to that Golden State team where Steph Curry and Klay Thompson both played horrible, and Draymond Green
would have been the MVP if they would have won that series.
Finals MVP. And then you're looking at, and then this is what the narrative is going to be about Steph Curry. In the 2 championships that y'all team won, your finals MVPs were role players.
Right.
You weren't the best player. You weren't even the best. Now, 2015 was all narrative. But my point is that what the media would have said was 2 role players won finals MVPs on your watch as the best player on the team because you get the most attention.
That's why I say he's kind of overrated to me. I think Steph Curry is overrated, slightly overrated in my opinion. Yeah.
All right, man. And again, man, salute to everybody in the chat. Again, guys, make sure to like the video and make sure to hit that subscribe button if you have not for the Lewis Sports Network. I'm here with my guest, Jay. We're talking NBA topics. We've talked about Russ. We're currently on LeBron and Kyrie, and then we'll get to Scottie Pippen. That's the last topic because, like I said, I got some stuff to say about him. But, okay, so going back, what I'm basically saying is that if OKC was able to put a 3-1 stranglehold on Golden State, and the thing is, the Cavaliers are a more talented team. When you really if you put them in a pickup game, are you going to choose Steph, Klay, and Draymond, or are you going to choose Kyrie, Kevin, and LeBron? And I'm going with those three boys in Cleveland. On paper, Cleveland is more talented. Golden State's bench did not play great in that series. I look at a guy like Festus Ezeli. Festus Ezeli was terrible defensively.
He's
like you mentioned, Andrew Bogut was their best rim protector. So even if Golden State scored more points, they didn't play that great. Another thing, Harrison Barnes really, because he was making a new house for the Golden State Warriors, a new brick house, because he was just shooting bricks.
Hey, man, they was leaving him open on purpose, man.
In the last 4 games, Harrison Barnes shot 5 for 42 in the series. So LeBron didn't have to defend him at all. He didn't have to defend his position.
Nope.
And listen, and I give LeBron credit for the performance he did, but I'm going to ask you again. If OKC was able to put a 3-1 stranglehold on Golden State, and if you want to say that OKC is more talented than Cleveland, and Cleveland to me is more talented than Golden State, why didn't the Cleveland Cavaliers take a 3-1 lead on Golden State? And when you watch that series, the way that the way that the Cavaliers played the first 2 games, they looked like they didn't even want to be in the NBA Finals. If you watch those 2 games, they look like they didn't even want to be there.
Yeah, that's true. I agree with you, Lou. I agree.
I'm sorry. And then if you look at the suspension, and let me say this about Draymond Green. Draymond Green should have been suspended in the OKC series. They didn't do it. He was supposed to be suspended in the series in OKC when he nutted Steven Adams twice in the nuts in back-to-back games and got no penalty for that. Right. So I guess that was the NBA's way of saying that we was going to get you back. It's just, it happened to be against Cleveland with LeBron in Game 4. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to get into that because we already know what happened. Like, we already know who started it, and then what happened after, back and forth. Mm-hmm. And Danny Crawford, the veteran official, was right in front and did absolutely nothing. So I knew it was kind of a setup from the get-go. So what happens is, they lose 5, right?
Right.
They lose 6 and they lose 7. Andrew Bogut goes down with the ACL injury. They win, and and then Cleveland completes their comeback. Right. LeBron gets Finals MVP. So I'm gonna say this about 2016 compared to 2020. I will give LeBron that 2016 was harder than 2020, but I still would not put 2016 in terms of when you look at the win percentage looks more favorable because of Golden State's 73 wins. But if you take Toronto's record, 56, which was the only 50-win team that they faced in the East that year, and then you look at the 48 and the 44, the win percentage isn't really that impressive until you add Golden State's. That's why when you look at Cleveland is in the top 10. I think the 2016 team is in the top 10 in terms of best win percentage, in terms of championship teams that they went up against in the playoffs, in terms of the finals run. But the 2020 championship is in the top. I believe it's the 36th or 37th hardest when we talk about this pandemic NBA championship. It really wasn't that difficult, because even if players were saying it was difficult from a mindset, they were players who were also saying that it was an easy championship as well.
It was easy. It's no pressure. What pressure? Ain't no fans in the stands. Ain't nothing.
Besides, what people are forgetting too, man, they were also going to say that that there were some players who were even complaining of the preferential treatment that the Laker players were getting. That came out. Like, it wasn't just basically saying like all that, man. So like, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you really look at it, I mean, if you want to listen, I can name a lot more difficult runs than this 2020 NBA title. I can name many. We talk about
I can go to the Dirk championship run. Remember the Dallas Mavericks championship run? I think that was the most impressive in my opinion.
Listen. I could go far as the 2003 Spurs with Tim Duncan. Every series they played went 6 games. Phoenix, LA, Dallas, and even New Jersey, who was probably the weakest out of all those teams, took them to 6 games. Right. So there's the Spurs. You got the 95 Rockets. Did you look at the win percentage of every single team they played in the playoffs?
Yeah.
Utah Jazz, 60 wins. Phoenix Suns, 59 wins. The Spurs had the best record in that league with 62, and they had MVP David Robinson. And then in the finals, they faced a 57-win Magic team.
Mm-hmm.
The Rockets, in my opinion, had the most difficult championship. You look at the '88 Lakers. They played 3 straight 7-game series with the Utah Jazz, with the Dallas Mavericks, and with the Detroit Pistons. Your Pistons.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there was a lot of I could name more difficult playoff runs. I mean, you look at the '08 Celtics with Boston. 7-game series against Atlanta. That should have never won 7 games, but okay, it did. A LeBron James-led Cleveland Cavaliers team that pushed them to 7 games. Then they went to 6 with Detroit, and then they went 6 with the Lakers in '08. So I'm sorry, man. It's like there's a lot. The '97 Bulls. That's another one. That was another difficult one too.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
You could even say the '98 Bulls. I mean, so there's a lot of championship teams. That you could even look at the '92 Bulls, 7 games with the Knicks, 6 games against the Cavs, and then 6 games against the Blazers. There's more the 2000 Lakers as well, man.
Mm-hmm.
So like, there's just a lot. The 2010 Lakers. I mean, there's a lot of championship teams. Hell, to put this for LeBron, check this out, bro. The 2013 Heat. The 2013 Heat had a difficult playoff run.
They did, yeah.
They went back-to-back 7-game series. Shout out to Ashley, man. I'm not saying that the bubble wasn't a crazy scenario, but again, if you look at a lot of the players that played in that bubble, it was less pressure, man. Like Luka Doncic, like how would he react in terms of playoff atmosphere? Like for the first, we don't know. Look how Jamal Murray balled out, and he was inconsistent last year when he was in a crowd setting. So
hell yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah.
You look at Donovan Mitchell, another guy. So it's like, some of these guys, I'm sorry, man. It's like, you look at the 2019 Toronto Raptors. They had a difficult playoff run. Now, I'm going to say that their playoff run was somewhat lucky, but, still, at the end of the day, I'm sorry, man. That is crazy. That Atlanta Hawks team in '97, they should have pushed the Bulls to the very least 6. That was a good Atlanta Hawks team, and that was a good defensive team. They just
Oh yeah, that
the
team had
Bulls.
Mookie Blaylock. Yeah,
Yo, Mookie Blaylock, man, that he to me was like the glove in the Eastern Conference. Like
he
he had
was. That boy was a pest, man.
great defensive player, man.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Tyree says no, Lewis. There's no way a super team had a difficult route to a championship. Well, which super team are you talking about, though? If you let me know what super team then I'll let you know. I mean,
And please don't say the Chicago Bulls. They was never a super team, bro. I'm tired of that bullshit scenario. I mean, narrative too. That garbage ass narrative. They was never a super team. When the only all-star player he ever had was Scottie Pippen. I don't want to hear that bullshit.
it wasn't a championship won in somebody else's backyard. With their fan, Jay and Lewis have seen my comments, man. As Jay shared my, oh yeah, yes, right, yeah. Jay did share your sentiments. That's true. Yep, you did.
Yeah.
I remember that. Because the thing is, like, I'm not saying, yeah, man, that was good. That was that Atlanta Hawks team. Look, man, Mookie Mutombo, yeah, that was. I'm telling you, that was a
Steve Smith, yeah.
Oh, no doubt. You know, so
Stacey Augman, yeah, that team was talented. Tyrone Corbin.
Ty Corbin, the head coach, man.
Oh shit.
Oh man, so Paul, KG, Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, they all lost to Kobe, and you know they beat Kobe too. But I'm just basically saying like a lot of the championship runs were difficult. Obviously, the scenarios were different, but at the end of the day, man, like those teams, like it was just a lot more. I get what they're trying to say mentally. Like mentally, it was different, but it's like I said before. At the end of the day, it's like like you're comparing that 2020 thing to to that. It's just different, man. I just don't.
That's a fake championship, man. That Lakers, that was a fake title, man. I don't care what anybody says.
All right, G Money, before real quick. Before you get started, don't go off about the Toronto Raptors and the scenarios and this and that. Salute to you, first of all. But
G Money.
But before you get, I was going to ask you, man, what's your thoughts on what LeBron said, man? Do you think that the 2016 and the 2020 championship was the two hardest championships in LeBron, and according to what LeBron said? Shout out to Tyree as well, man.
I disagree with LeBron. You know, I understand the 2016 championship was tough. But come on, they beat Detroit, Atlanta, and Toronto. Seriously, the road was not that hard. And listen, I understand the Warriors won 73 games, but let's be honest, all right? The Warriors were not that dominant in the playoffs if you watch the whole playoffs, okay? OKC should have beaten these guys in 6 games, you know what I mean? And let's be honest, all right? If Bogut is healthy, if Iggy is healthy, if Curry is healthy, and Draymond is not suspended, the Warriors would have won in 5 games. And in 2020, and this is my opinion, 2020, I know people can disagree with what I'm going to say here, but I believe if the Heat were healthy, I think that series goes 7 games. That's just me, though.
I'm gonna tell you right now, a fully Miami Heat team, they still not beating the Lakers, and I still don't think it's going 7.
No, they won't go 7. Dragic he's a liability on defense. They was exposing him the whole finals.
Man.
6 in game 4. I think they would have won 7.
All right, Tyree, man. What's up, man? What's your thoughts on this, man?
Hey, shout out to Lewis. I appreciate you adding me to the show. Shout out to Jay. Hey, y'all been doing a great job, man.
Hey, shout out, man. Salute.
G Money. Shout out to you too, G Money. I ain't hear from you in a while, bro.
Son, man.
But to me, LeBron was capping, but his hardest championship to me was 2013.
I agree with you.
That was his hardest championship. People keep talking about the 73-9 Warriors. They forget the year before, Steph Curry was the only All-Star on that 2015 Golden State team. So when Kevin Love and Kyrie got hurt, it actually made the Cavs closer to the Golden State Warriors that year. That team is basically even. When Kyrie and Kevin Love came back, it made them a super team again. And no way LeBron should have been down 3-1. He should have beat that Golden State team.
Hold on, Tyree, real quick. When you talk about the 2015 Golden State Warriors, actually, the one time that Steph was the only All-Star was the 2014 team. In 2015, him and Clay made the All-Star team, but
Clay was a reserve.
No, he was a reserve, but he did make the All-Star team.
Okay, if you count that, yeah.
Okay, but what I will say is to your point though, what people forget in that 2015 NBA Finals is that Klay Thompson did not play well absolutely at all in that 2015 Finals. With the attention that Curry was getting, he did not play well, and that's something that people kind of tend to forget. They just look at the resume and they say, "Oh, he made the All-Star team," but you got to look at what he produced on the court. Klay Thompson had terrible numbers in that NBA Finals. I think he only shot 32% in the series, and he barely averaged over 10 points per game in that series, man.
Hey, let me say something, Lou. Let me say something right quick. My bad.
I'm sorry, Jay.
Oh, my fault. I just want to make something right quick.
Let me say this before you go, Jay. No, it's all right. It's all good. Go ahead, Jay.
Oh, okay. I just want to say this. Hey, Lou, everybody always criticizing Steph Curry playoff performances, his playoff play, but nobody talks about Klay Thompson. He struggles too in the playoffs, man. Besides that one game against OKC. That dude struggles big time, man.
I got 2 points to that. Jay, you're right. But every superstar had a bad game in the playoffs, and people only pick and choose when they want to talk about it. Second, nobody brings up that Mozgov was balling in 2015 for the Cavs in the finals. Everybody forget that Timothy Mozgov played for the Cavs. Golden State had nobody to answer. Golden State had nobody to answer for him.
Not even Andrew Bogut, who was on the team.
Absolutely. That Cavs team without Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving was still just as loaded as that Golden State Warriors, because Golden State had a great bench that year. That Cavs team was just as great still, with even without Kyrie Irving.
Hey, let me say this, Tyree. Hey, when Mozgov was dominating in that series, like you said in 2015, that finals, they did make adjustments. Curry made adjustments because he's put in David Lee. He started giving David Lee more minutes, man, and he got him in foul trouble.
I agree.
Yeah. And David Lee helped with the Warriors' motion offense, which is good though, because and also Iguodala helped the Warriors with spacing the floor a little bit and his lockdown D on LeBron.
The only point I was making is that you can't. To me, 73-9 was great because they was having a great season that year. But you can't bring up 73-9 when you had that 73-9 team down 4-2 without two of your best players. I mean, two of your three best players.
Right, and here's what I'm gonna say real quick, because what people forget about that 2015 Finals, the Cavaliers were being very physical with Steph Curry, and the thing is that allowed them to slow the game down. It was once Steve Kerr inserted David Lee, and that's why the thing was the spacing that the Warriors create with their offense. It was getting clogged up with what Cleveland was doing defensively to them. So when they brought David Lee in, what David Lee does is he stays in motion. So he's not a standstill big that just stands in the paint. David Lee can move around the floor. He sets screens and he stays in motion. He moves around the court, and because of that, that gave the spacing that Steph needed to be able to go off in the last. In the second half of Game 3, going all the way to Game 6, and that's why Steph was able to play well after that. But before that,
and David Lee was a great rebounder too. Like a lot of people don't know that. Yeah.
And one more thing too, though, a lot of people are not bringing up the fact that Dellavedova also was hand checking a lot on Steph Curry, and Steph Curry wasn't able to get off until they started putting Dellavedova in pick and rolls.
True.
He was hand checking big time. Yeah, I agree.
Listen, because when Delly went up against the Atlanta Hawks in 2015, some of the Hawks got mad at him, including I think it was Al Horford. They thought that he was intentionally trying to injure players. I mean, if you look at some of the guys that even went down in that series, but let's be real, that team was not going to be Cleveland. But again, if you look at some of the injuries that Atlanta had, he was kind of in the middle of it, and they were kind of accusing him of trying to like intentionally hurt because he was kind of hand checking. So they didn't talk about that, but that's. And look, and I got respect for Delly, man. Delly plays hard. Like I said, he's a good hard-nosed player, and I respect guys like him, but he was hand-checking, and that was one of the things that he was doing up against Steph. And remember, Steph is uncomfortable when you get physical with him. When you're allowed to be physical with Steph, Steph is not as effective because it takes a lot out of him he has to try to score. He has to move off the ball. And then on top of that, you're being physical where you're doubling him. You're being able to trap him. You're being able to hand check him. So that's why I say that it took a lot of that just to get him. So that's why I said that people just talk about Iguodala, but I always say that the unsung hero of that series was David Lee in terms of what it did for that system when he came in. So I always give him his credit. Now give Iguodala credit in terms of what he brought in terms of a wing player, defensively, playmaking, and he had some big shots. But the unsung hero of that series, no, in my question,
it was David Lee, man. He changed the whole dynamic of that series. Yeah.
And not just that, Harrison Barnes also was hitting wide open threes as well that helped him in 2015.
Right. Harrison Barnes played better in 2015 than he did in 2016. Like it's unbelievable, man. But I just feel like, to me, LeBron is just trying to. I just think this is more so for the GOAT case.
Yeah, he's a narcissist, man.
Trying to glorify these championships again. And the thing is, I've seen some people in YouTube and some of the comments they've been making talking about how saying like I like a guy who says that he's the greatest of all time. I said no. If you've never heard a great player say that they're the greatest of all time, why would you like somebody saying they're claiming they're the greatest? And first of all, let me say this, and because this is what I find hypocritical about LeBron's comments from last year. If you beat Golden State coming back from 3-1 and you never called yourself the greatest player of all time when you beat them in 2016, why all of a sudden 3 years later, all of a sudden on your show in front of your friends, that what you did for the city of Cleveland in the 52-year drought, and notice that LeBron didn't even mention Kyrie when he said this on his show. He didn't even mention Kyrie. He said what we did for the 52-year Cleveland, and what I did in terms of 52 years of LeBron. Sounded like he was saying it like a speech, like kind of like if he really didn't even mean it. I mean, the guy keeps using "I'm the kid from Akron" speech all the time, and it's getting so redundant, and I'm getting so tired of it. But then he goes on and says that right there may be the greatest of all time. And I said to myself, why didn't you say that 3 years ago when you beat them? That tells me that you weren't confident in your GOAT case up until you were losing the finals back-to-back years after they got Kevin Durant. So you got desperate. And then what that made you do is that then you tried to put yourself in full narcissistic mode just to get clout, to get your guys talking in the media and say that you're the greatest.
Hey, if you're the greatest player of all time, you guard Kevin Durant in those two finals you played against him. You guard him. You gotta play the best. You gotta be the best of the best, and he didn't show shit.
KD was wide late closeouts, and KD was just going to the basket with no resistance for the Cavs whatsoever.
Yes.
Well, I disagree about a player coming out saying that they're GOAT. The only thing is that if you claim that you are the GOAT, you have to have evidence to prove that you are the GOAT. When your resume doesn't show that you ain't even in competition to being the GOAT, then I don't want to hear you ever talking about yourself being the GOAT. But as long as you can prove it and back it up that you are the GOAT, I have no issue with you coming out saying that you're the GOAT.
Well, I'm gonna say this, man. If LeBron is truly confident that he's the greatest of all time, you just got to go out there and prove it on the basketball court. If you say that you're the greatest, because I said when you look at LeBron's career, I've said this many times. He has a top 10 resume when you look at his career. I said it's top 10 worthy. Even if you want to use the 4-6 NBA Finals record, if you look at his career, it's top 10 worthy because he has 4 championships, he has 4 regular season MVPs, and he has 4 Finals MVPs. When you stack him up against that's top 10 worthy, whether you like it or not. It's top 10 worthy. The issue that I have is when you lose, you don't hold yourself accountable. And a true champion, a true guy who's great, deals with adversity. Why would you force adversity on yourself, but then you're not able to deal with the consequences? And what that tells me is that when you say that Kyrie hurt your feelings, it basically says that you can't take criticism, even at this point in your career. You're heading into your 18th season. 18 years in the NBA. Not a lot of guys can say they played 18 years in the NBA and you're still playing. So from longevity perspective, I give LeBron his respect. But the problem is when you're trying to use that in terms of, because then when you want to go to 2017, my issue with that is LeBron guarded Kevin Durant very few times. And what happened in the very next year is it got so bad when Kevin Durant hit that shot on you in game 3 that the very next year, you made sure that JR got that switch instead of you. That tells me that you didn't want that.
He's not the GOAT. Yeah.
You did. You told me you did that.
Also, if you the GOAT, why did you miss the playoffs 3 times in your career if you the GOAT? Twice with Cleveland and once with the Lakers. Come on, man.
And he was in he said he was in playoff mode activated. You know how these LeBron fans like saying, "Oh, he was in fourth place when he got hurt," but they ignored the fact that Rondo
Bullshit.
was hurt. They ignored the fact that the Lakers were only 2 games up in the 9th seed. They ignored the fact that Rondo was hurt, Lonzo Ball was hurt, Kuzma had injuries, Chandler had injuries, and etc. You know what I mean? And when LeBron came back, they went what 8-13 when he came back, and they lost to the Knicks, the Cavs, the
The
Grizzlies,
Pistons.
the Pistons, the Suns, the Pelicans without AD. These guys want to make it seem they want to use the fourth place narrative to make it seem the Lakers are for sure in making the playoffs, but they ignored the fact that they're only 2 games up on the 9th seed. You know what I mean?
All right.
Yeah, man.
That's
So
what
like I said, go ahead, J-Money, finish your point.
it's like. Listen, I understand LeBron got hurt, but let's look at the facts, okay? The whole Laker team got hurt, and here's the thing: there's no more excuses losing to bad teams like the Knicks, Pistons, Suns, Hawks, Grizzlies, Wizards. I mean, Timberwolves. Come on, and people need to get rid of this fourth place narrative. You know what I mean?
All right. I agree. I agree with G Money. I agree with him.
Like I said, all right, man. So now that we're done with LeBron and Kyrie, get that out the way. Now we go to the last topic of the night.
Scottie sipping.
Jay's favorite brother from another mother, Scottie simping, man. Scottie simping. Listen, man.
Oh shit.
I'm gonna tell you right now. Well, Freddie G, real quick. When you say that the East is weak today, but MJ made the playoffs losing 50 games, I'm gonna tell you about that right now. Yeah, I partially agree with you, but you got to understand the problem. When they lost those 52 games, MJ missed 64 of
He
those
missed
games.
a lot of those games, bro. Your comment is irrelevant, bro.
So, like I said, I partially agree with you, but again, he missed 64 games.
Had the broken ankle. Remember that. Yeah.
If he played all 60, if he played all 82 games and they only won like 39 games or something, I would agree with you wholeheartedly 100%.
I guarantee you he would have played 82 games. They not losing 50 games, bro. I put my life on that.
But I don't think that's what he's saying, though, y'all.
What he saying?
I think he's saying that in order for your best player on your team to miss all those games and your team is still able to make the playoffs, that says something about your conference.
But the only difference is, though, the East in the 80s, though, was a lot different than what today's East is in the NBA. The 80s East was more stacked. When you look at the teams, you're talking about Philadelphia, Boston, Atlanta, Detroit.
Yeah.
Like, there were better teams in the Eastern Conference at that time. And even as Jordan was starting to get better and the Bulls were getting better, some of the team, because the thing is, every single time when the Bulls were starting to rise up, look at the Milwaukee Bucks, who they ended up losing to in '85. Once they started to go down, then it was the Boston Celtics and the Sixers kind of neck and neck in those early 80s. And then once the Celtics started to die down, then it was the Pistons time, and when they took over, even though there were some good teams in the East, but then it was the Pistons time. After the Pistons, then came the Bulls. So it was like one team on top of the other before they really.
Right. It was a process.
MJ came in '84, so he came around mid '80s. So he wasn't even a part of the early '80s when it was Philly and Boston going at it pretty much in the Eastern Conference early.
Yeah.
But we can't do that though, fellas, because when LeBron James was in the East and he was going up against teams that was like 42 and whatever and 39 and whatever, we always said that was the easy East. Now, when Michael Jordan missed those games and they still was able to make the playoffs with the best player being missing, we still have to say that it was the easy East as well. When LeBron did it, it was the easy East. When Jordan did it, it's also the easy East. So we can't give one guy the credit because he missed more games than a guy that had a better record. Like LeBron James' teams never lost 48 games or more. And we still say his competition was easy because he went against teams that was 40-something plus wins, 40-something less wins. Same has to be said about Michael Jordan. There's no way that you miss the best player hasn't played for 60-something games and your team's still able to make the playoffs.
I mean, like I said, man, I partially agree with that. In terms of and look, I mean, at the end of the day, you can't erase it because it's part of history. So I'm not gonna. Because the thing was, the funny thing is, the West was actually much more weaker in the '80s than it is pretty much today. The West is actually much strong. Obviously, like it was stronger like in the '90s and the early part of the 2000s. Well, actually, pretty much throughout the whole 2000s. But the thing was, is that again, in terms of LeBron, his teams. I'm not gonna say like they were just like they were overly like impressive or anything like that with some of the rosters that he had. He has some good players, but I'm not going to say they were over the top or anything. But if you look at a lot of LeBron's first round opponents compared to what MJ was kind of going up against in the early 80s. Now, I will say this, though. Now, at the end of the day, Michael was making the playoffs with what, 38 wins, 44 losses. So I could hold that. But what we have to also remember, too, was that when Jordan came to that franchise, they had the third worst record in the league, so there was some improvement when he came in his first year. And then if you look at if you look at the rosters of the Milwaukee Bucks, if you look at that 84-85 team, there's guys on that roster that should be in the Hall of Fame. We're talking.
Yeah, that team was legendary, bro.
We're talking. Yeah. Listen, man, we talking. Look, Sidney Moncrief just got in. That dude should have been in the Hall of Fame a long time ago.
Jack Simma, Terry Cummings. Like, you kidding me? Yeah,
that team was very deep.
They had some real Ricky Pierce, man. Ricky Pierce, underrated player.
Terry Cummings should be a Hall of Famer. Like, come on, man. Are you kidding me right now?
But we can't use that though if a team with that losing record still made the playoffs in that conference. If we're talking about they had legendary teams in that conference, we still can't lose a team with a losing record still able to make the conference. I mean, to make the playoffs. That says something about the competition, or it says something about your conference.
I mean, I do partially agree with you in terms of like what we're saying on that in terms of the 80s, and because shout out to Ken in the but like I said, I partially agree because there's got to be a little bit of context when you're comparing, because like I said before, when you look at both, and the thing is they're kind of different times, and it's kind of much more difficult because the thing is, if you look at the rosters of what LeBron was going up against in the East, especially if you look at those early rounds in the playoffs compared to what Jordan was going up against compared to his rosters, it's a little bit different. But I will agree with you in terms of like the fact that he went to the playoffs with 44 losses. And then a 52 loss season, to me, which kind of doesn't really make sense. I feel like the 86 season to me is kind of more weirder than the 85 season, because they did improve by 11 games because they won only 27. But I will say it's kind of weird though that he made the playoffs with 30 wins. That to me is kind of fishy. And the fact that the Bulls were very, very bad in the games he missed. And you could say that part of the East was pretty bad. I think I would probably want to say
I say the bottom half of the East was kind of weak though. It was weak as hell in the 80s. Yeah, the bottom half of the East.
The bottom half of the East. I gotta say that, man.
Yeah.
Hey, if I could interject real quick.
What's good, man?
What's up, y'all? You know, I'm sitting here laying in my bed, man, but I know my boy Jason finna say something. I said, let me get on here before. But anyways, you know, one thing, you know, about Jordan in the 80s and in the Bulls was, let's be real. Jordan didn't miss all them games. Obviously, the Bulls record would be much better. 1, 2, they didn't want him to come back. You know, I think they were trying to,
Absolutely. We agree.
Yeah, they didn't want Jordan to come back. They wanted him to, you know, to sit out the whole season, and but I mean, saying that, you know, it was a little bit different. The league was different then. You know, I mean, the East was definitely the stronger of the two. The West was terrible, horrible at that in the 80s at that time. You know, so. But you know, I mean, and there's no way if Jordan played the whole season, I'm sure they're at least, you know, what did they win, like 30 games? I'm sure Jordan's good for 15, you know, 15, maybe 17 games, you know. Right. So I'm sure that, you know, they probably end up at least, you know, maybe 48 wins, you know, somewhere around there if Jordan plays the whole season. So I don't think you can hold. So I'm saying I don't think you can hold that against Jordan.
Well, I say you got to hold that against Jordan because we hold last year LeBron against LeBron because he only missed 18 games with the injury that he had, and he told everybody to go activate playoff mode and still wasn't able to play. At that time he got hurt. I think they was like the number 4th seed. So imagine if he didn't get hurt, he probably would have been the number 2 or 3 seed. So we can't use ifs when the facts is right there.
But
Jordan
I'm gonna say,
What?
but see,
But 60 games and 18 games are totally different, bro.
Exactly. And
Yeah,
LeBron came back in January. He came back a month later. By the way.
So he had time to make up. He had a lot of time to make up on that.
But
what I was saying is that
Very.
Jordan's team still made it with a losing record. LeBron James' team, he finished with a better record last year than what Jordan had and didn't make the playoffs. So it's either the competition was weak or his conference was weak.
I mean, I will say this, we'll never know, and I can understand that. But here's kind of like where it's a little bit more difficult in terms of defending LeBron's case because the Lakers were losing to some of the worst teams in the league, especially with the fact that a lot of those teams were purposely tanking. It wasn't like that back. It wasn't like that back then. But I can understand what you're saying, though. I could understand that. That is a little bit. That is suspect when you look. I really more so look at that 86 season, more particular than the 85, because that was Jordan's first year.
Y'all making me become a LeBron caper, and I'm not. I just like for us to be fair, you know.
Right. I see his point though. Really, I really see it because, like I said, the East, the bottom half of the East in the 80s was weak. It was weak as hell.
Yeah. Was mediocre. Yeah, the East and the bottom was kind of mediocre. It's true.
Because, but also, and I'm gonna let Ken, finish. But also, if you look at the run that the Lakers had making it to all those finals, they always had the better team. When you look at the rounds that they played in, that's why it's funny that no one ever mentions about the runs that Magic had and the runs that he made to the finals. Magic was playing a lot of weaker teams. They were starting to get stronger in the late 80s, but for the most part of the early 80s, man, Magic was really not. The competition that the Lakers were playing was not even really that. It really wasn't that great. It was in the later 80s because the Lakers were starting to get older. They were getting pushed by younger teams like the Jazz and the Mavericks in that 88 playoffs. And then eventually the Pistons in the finals in the East. But for the most part, Magic was getting to the finals, pretty easy in the Western Conference. The West was real weak.
He went to 10 NBA finals, bro. That should tell you right there. Yeah.
Like 9 finals in 12 seasons. Like, that should tell you something, bro. So in a way, that's why you could kind of compare LeBron to Magic, because if you look at their finals runs, like in a certain stretch, it's like it's kind of comparable. When you look at LeBron's 2010 Magic's runs in the 80s with Kareem and stuff like that. So, but
I would have to disagree, Lewis.
That's fine.
With that Magic and LeBron. No, I'm just saying that because Magic actually played with just as the same amount of talent as LeBron James, right? But one thing we can't do with LeBron James is say that he got swept as many times as Magic Johnson did, and Magic Johnson arguably may have a better collection of talent that he played with than LeBron James. Magic, I think in his entire career, been swept 6 times. I think LeBron James only been swept twice, maybe.
Oh no, I wasn't comparing playoff sweeps. I was basically saying runs to the finals with both Magic and LeBron. I said when you look at their careers, what LeBron did in the 2010s in the Eastern Conference and what Magic did in the 80s in the Western Conference, I said that they're actually very comparable. That's what I was saying. I wasn't talking about sweeps or anything like that. Okay,
I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about career playoff success.
No. To be honest with you, Magic's got some blemishes on his playoff record in his soul, but it's like I said, they don't talk about that. That's what I
absolutely, yeah.
I'll talk about that. Yeah, Ken, you was gonna say something, bro?
Oh no, I'm tied up right now. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I got you. All right, man. So, because I know Ken came here to defend Scottie Pippen, but this is what I wanted to talk about. I want to get.
You damn right, boy.
That's his homie, man.
No, it's cool. Look, I wanted to see what your thoughts was on what Scottie pretty much said. Okay, in his opinion, he said that The Last Dance did a poor portrayal of what the Bulls were about in terms of what they accomplished, and he felt that Magic Johnson. I'm sorry, not Magic Johnson. Excuse me. That Michael kind of used that as a way to over glorify himself, pretty much for what everybody knows about when it comes to what Jordan pretty much represented to the league. And I just wanted to get everybody's thoughts on that. And because what I feel was is that I get what some people are saying, but I felt like there were sides of Scottie that I didn't even know about, and that I actually kind of felt sympathetic towards Scottie. But again, and I'm gonna get into Larson and all that in a second. But anyway, I'm gonna let Tyree start, then I'll let Jay go, and then I'll let Ken go, and then I'll let G Money go, man. So go ahead, man.
Well, I would like to start by saying that documentary did make Scottie Pippen look bad. Throughout the whole documentary, they did not give Scottie Pippen any props for being a Batman. Everybody keeps saying that Scottie Pippen was a role player at that time with Michael Jordan. He was not. He was actually the sidekick to Michael Jordan. And without Scottie Pippen, with all that he brought with rebounding, defending, and being, he also was a player at getting scrappy points and stuff like that when you needed a bucket or two. And with the documentary, it just showed that Michael made Scottie Pippen and how Scottie Pippen froze up at certain moments. But it never showed how Scottie Pippen did come through sometimes.
You finished, Tyree? If you're done, what you
I'm
call
done.
it? All right, cool.
I'm
Jay,
done.
you can go.
Man, I think the documentary they was accurate on Pippen. Like I said, man, he was like a role star player. You know what I'm saying? Like 95 told you what type of player he really was, man. That 95 season. Y'all saw what happened when he was pouring at the bottom of his shoe. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Shit, they tried to make him the man and he failed. He needed Jordan. Pippen is not Pippen without Michael, and that's a fact.
Ken?
Yeah. Well, look, I agree with Scottie. Okay, I think that he was grossly misrepresented, as were a lot of the Bulls players in that Jordan-mentary. You know, I mean, because that's what it was. It was basically just another fluff piece to make Jordan feel better about himself or whatever. And look, Jordan is the greatest ever in my opinion. But I was excited. I thought it was going to be, chronicling the whole Bulls, not just Michael Jordan. I mean, they missed out on a lot of great things that Scottie did in helping the Bulls win 6 championships. And even when they did, it was like, like with the Magic Johnson thing, it was very glossed over, or like, even the one time when really Scottie when Scottie was the best player on the floor, even with Jordan on there in 93 versus the Knicks, or the fact that I don't know how many people know this, or the fact that in 98, many people were writing that Pippen should have been the MVP of the 98 finals.
You mean the 97 finals? You mean the 97 finals?
No,
It was
98.
in 98 because Jordan had a bad game 6, I believe.
No.
Yeah.
Ken and Tyree are right. Pippen was actually looking like the Finals MVP in 1998. That's a fact.
It's true.
That's a fact.
I mean, that was the one where I think it was the game 3 where the Bulls like set the record for biggest margin of victory against the Jazz when they beat him by like 40 points, and Pippen was like all over the place. And I mean, there's a lot of things that I think was missed out. And I can accept, where they talked about Pippen's transgressions, because he definitely had them, but I think he wasn't portrayed fairly. They spent too much time, I mean, one last thing. I mean, I can, like what Horace Grant said, I can accept the fact that after, watching these series, that it was from a perspective of Michael Jordan. Why in the hell is he talking about what happened in 94? He wasn't even there. So I mean, why bring that up? The whole damn series is jacking off Michael Jordan, and now all of a sudden we got to talk about what Pippen did in '94. And one last thing to my brother Jason. Look, this is one thing I never understand about people that hate on Scottie Pippen. Okay, I'm serious, bro, and I love you, but I mean, look. I don't get the concept of saying, "Oh, well, look at like 1995, like Scottie Pippen failed." I mean, the dude led the Bulls in every single category, right? Every single one. He, you can't lose your best player, then lose your third best player in Horace Grant, and he still had these guys competing for a playoff. But we were just talking about how great LeBron James was because or some people were. Because he had his team, still in the.
You talk about in '94, right? He had Horace Grant on that team in '94.
No, 95. 95, Grant left.
Yeah, I know. In '95 he left, and they struggled.
Right.
And you saw the Bulls struggle in '95. They struggled.
Well, I mean, what did you expect, man? They didn't have no talent around them. I mean, people.
But you said Pippen was the guy, right? He should have been able to overcome that.
Well, okay, I could point out a whole lot of people that was in that kind of situation. Kobe Bryant was. How when Shaq failed, what did Kobe Bryant do? He was a joke then. Okay, same thing with Dwayne Wade. Okay, I mean, we could go through a whole bevy of players that were in the same situation as Scottie Pippen and did worse.
But
right.
But when Kobe lost Shaq, it was sometimes they missed the playoffs, but it was other times that he took them to the playoffs too. Without his main pieces around him.
Well, when did that happen? When did that happen? The Lakers were a joke until they got Pau Gasol.
Let me see. That the 2013 Lakers.
I'm sorry not to interject, but Kobe did make the playoffs in 2006, 2007.
Yeah,
and I believe 2005,
with Smooth Parker at his damn players. Man, come on, guys.
I think you need to go back and look at that. I think you need to go back and look at that the Lakers record in 2005, 2006. Okay, their record, the Lakers suck. And let's understand that at least when Shaq left, they got Caron Butler, they got Lamar Odom.
I'm sorry.
Year, what about that D Wade year? That year D Wade took that heat to the playoffs when they had no business being there. D Wade carried that team to the playoffs, man.
That never, not that I can remember. I don't ever remember D Wade taking a bad team to the playoffs.
He did. They always didn't know, and they lost to the Celtics.
Who was on the team, bro? Who was on the team?
D Wade.
You telling me they had nobody? What year? You telling me they had nobody on them teams?
That was 2009.
2009, that was a year when he balled out. He had like 30 points, average 30, and average like 8 assists or something like that. I remember.
Yeah, they was an AFC. They was an AFC, and they barely got into the playoffs.
No, the Heat suck, bro. I'm trying to tell you, the Heat were garbage.
Look it up, man.
Man, you gonna pull me out of my bed and have me go to my computer and look this thing up, man. It's killing me here.
Listen. It was either 2009 or 2010. But I can
It was 2009. It was 2009. I've had this conversation a million times, and that's what I'm trying to figure out. Why do we give so-called greats? And I mean they are great, right? But these guys are supposed to be better than Scottie Pippen. So why he fell? Well, who did he have? Who did again? Okay, but they didn't do anything more than what Scottie Pippen did when they all were in the same position.
Ken, I do agree.
They took bad teams to the playoffs.
Ken, I do agree with you with that. That Scottie Pippen lost one of his main players, one of the best players in the league, and they didn't replace Michael Jordan with anybody as equivalent to Scottie Pippen. How do you expect Scottie Pippen to even have a great season the second year after Michael Jordan left?
That's all I'm saying.
Hold on.
That's all I'm saying. What more do you want this man? Wait. Last thing. What more do you want this man?
But you just said Scottie Pippen had maybe his best statistical season. What was it in 94? When he was 95. Doing everything, or 94, 95 season when he was doing everything for the Bulls. So why could he do that same thing that next season, bro? Why he didn't do that?
I think they
in 96. In 96,
I'm talking about 95.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. You lost in 95. They lost Horace Grant. They had Horace Grant in 94.
Yes.
Right? I mean,
that's just one. That's just one guy. But that's just one guy, though.
What do you mean? That's just one guy. There's only 5 guys on the court. You lose Michael Jordan one year, the year before, then you lose Horace Grant the next year, and they're not replacing this. They're not replacing these guys.
But you making my point clear. Scottie Pippen is not that guy.
What point are you making? That Scottie Pippen is supposed to win with no help, but everybody else gets help? Look at what LeBron James is doing. LeBron James is literally whoring himself out to the league to win championships, but Scottie Pippen got to win by himself.
What are you talking about?
Why does Scottie Pippen got to win by himself?
What are you talking about? He had other players on that team,
Who replaced Horace Grant? Jason. Who replaced Horace Grant when he left? I know. Who replaced Horace Grant when he left? What big quote was playing power forward at the time? Let me help you out. It was Tony Kukoc, soft ass, right? And I love Tony Kukoc, but he was not a power forward. He was not a center, right? You had I think it was Dickie Simpkins, right? He was a bust. Okay, and I can't remember.
Scottie Pippen ain't that guy. That's my point I'm trying to make.
Hold on. Can I interject real quick? Because I gotta get in this right now. Hold on, I gotta get in this real quick because this Scottie Pippen stuff is getting real heated right now. No, I'm playing. No, it's good stuff by both of y'all, man. I appreciate it. All right, the 93-94 team, that team had something to prove. That's what people have to kind of remember for that 93-94 team. So the thing was, I got to give Scottie the benefit of the doubt in terms of this aspect. He wasn't coming in that year thinking that Michael Jordan was going to retire. So Michael did announce his retirement in October, and that was kind of a surprise. I don't think Pippen was expecting to play with Michael. Okay, fine. What happened was that they acquired, remember, they got Luke Longley, they got Bill Wennington, they got Steve Kerr, they still had Scott Williams, they still had Bill Cartwright,
B.J. Armstrong.
They still had B.J. Armstrong, and they had Horace Grant, obviously, who was, who was still there. Now, what they were trying to prove is they were just more than a Michael Jordan team, so they played really hard. And the crazy part was Scottie missed the first 10 games of that season, which is what people forget. And I think they only went 4-6. When Pippen came back, I think they went 51-21. So Pippen played the rest of the other 72 games. He had a career statistical year, finished third in MVP. The Bulls won 55 games. But you have to also remember what's still there, too. You got the triangle offense. You got Phil Jackson's coaching staff. They're still there. So, that really didn't change. Scottie was just more the focal point. And remember, Scottie's job is really more so to facilitate. Scottie is on record as saying that he was never really about being the number one guy. He was never really about being an MVP. This is what I read from him in the article. This is what he said. And if you know Scottie tends to change his mind back and forth depending on what's going on with him. He's historically known for that. My issue is not with what Scottie did that 94 season. I was impressed with what Scottie did. As a matter of fact, I was like, no, Scottie took his game to a whole nother level. I said, that's awesome. I just said, I hope he could continue it until Michael came back. Now, unfortunately, they lost to the New York Knicks in the second round. Obviously they talk about, the thing is, people kind of tend to focus with that bad call. I'm just saying that a lot of stuff happened in that series. The thing is, I don't get on Pippen for struggling against the Knicks. The Knicks were a very good defensive team. That's not my issue because Pippen, we already know, Scottie Pippen is Mr. Intangibles. Scottie Pippen is Mr. Versatility. So when Scottie can't score, he can do other things to impact the game on the court. Right. That was not my issue. The issue I had with Scottie was more so what happened. It was with Tony Kukoc. That was the issue that I had. But the thing is, I also blame Phil Jackson for that because that's basically Phil's way of saying, I don't trust you in big moments, Scottie Pippen. When Kukoc is hitting 3 game winners, Pippen wanted to, according to Scottie, he wanted to at least be a decoy. That's what he said. That to me, that was code for Phil Jackson to tell him I wanted the ball in my hands. So I wanted to prove that I could be a go-to guy down the stretch. So that's what he wanted to be. Phil Jackson did not do that. And you could even hear Phil's words. He was basically saying, Scottie's not coming in, F him. That's what he literally said that. I read, if y'all haven't read, y'all need to read Phil's book, 11 Rings. Y'all need to read Phil's book, 11 Rings. I've read the book, and I remember exactly the things that Phil said in that book about that situation with Tony Kukoc and Scottie Pippen. He was on record as saying it, and I read it when he said that the reason they went to Tony was because they had more faith in him in crucial moments than he did in Scottie Pippen. Those are his words, not mine. I thought that was messed up on the head coach's part because Scottie Pippen is your best player. I would have loved to see what he would have done against the Knicks. I would have loved it, but he didn't do it. So, and then what happens is that Horace wants to know what the hell's going on. Bill Cartwright couldn't believe that Scottie Pippen quit on the team. And the thing is, everybody likes Scottie because he's a much more approachable teammate than is Michael Jordan because of how of a tyranny Michael can be. It's true. It's true. He can be. Michael's not the easiest to deal with. A lot of superstars are not easy to deal with. Scottie is more of the team player because Steve Kerr is on record as saying this. We go to Scottie just about everything because he really is a team guy and really incorporates people and he tries to help people. That's the goodness with Pippen. Because Michael's issue is he's too goddamn competitive with people and with himself, and he's still that way today. So, but the issue with Pippen was really more so again with that whole situation with the leadership thing in that game. And the thing was, you knew that the media, and the thing is, even Jordan said it. Jordan even said it like when he said that Scottie was messed up for that, but then he also said with Phil, why would you put Scottie in that position? Because he did say that in The Last Dance. Now, as much as I think that Jordan is in a way over glorified, which he kind of did with this Last Dance, at the same time though, this is things that I took away from The Last Dance as well. So I looked at I didn't know that Pippen had family members that were. I didn't know he had family members that were, they had,
they're handicapped.
Yeah, handicapped. They had issues going on with them. So that I didn't know. I felt sympathetic towards Scottie toward that.
Yeah.
I knew he had issues with the Bulls in terms of contract, but I didn't know how deep they were. And I got to be record on, as I'm saying this, even if Michael obviously was the best player, you look at the way that they handled that whole situation. I mean, I got to say this right now, is the real snake in this entire Bulls organization that always gets a pass and never gets called out. I don't really blame Scottie. I don't really blame Michael. I don't really blame Dennis. I don't really blame Phil. I don't even blame Jerry Krause. You know why? Because the person who allowed Jerry Krause to be who he is Jerry Reinsdorf.
Right.
You notice that he always gets a pass. Nobody ever talks about Jerry Reinsdorf. He allowed all this crap to happen during the entire Bulls run, from when Michael Jordan first got drafted to when they drafted Scottie Pippen to when they drafted Horace Grant, through all the trades they made, through when they got Dennis Rodman and they finished their last run with the Bulls. I'm still amazed with all the distractions that team has had, that they were able to win 6 championships in 8 years. I'm amazed by that. And unfortunately, and it's unfortunate, there were some things that I was not a fan of what Pippen did, but at the same time, I'm not a fan of the things that Michael did. And I'm just looking at it as you got to hold everybody a little bit of accountable. And the thing with Dennis Rodman is people got to understand this. This dude was about to be out of the league. David Robinson was on record as saying that Dennis was a problem in the locker room. Mm-hmm. David Robinson saying this when he was with San Antonio, and Greg Popovich traded him for Will Perdue. He was supposed to be out of the league. And this is why I got to get rid of this narrative. When Jordan, Pippen, and I'm saying Jordan and Pippen, when Jordan, Pippen, and the Bulls in 91, when they knocked off the Detroit Pistons, Rodman was 29 years old. What were they saying? That the Detroit Pistons were old. Now, they went through long playoff runs. I get that. But to say that they were old is a stupid narrative, because guess what? When they acquired Dennis Rodman and he was 35 years old, what are they saying? Dennis Rodman made them a super team. How does that make sense? Dennis Rodman was in his prime. He won back-to-back Defensive Player of the Year with the Detroit Pistons. He was in his prime. This was an out-of-prime Dennis Rodman. Yeah, he was still leading the league in rebounding. He made first-team All-Defense in '96.
Yeah. He would get like 0 points and 20 rebounds and shit.
So he was impactful. Don't get me wrong, but it was like he didn't get defensive teams after that. And as a matter of fact, Dennis Rodman wasn't even playing as great in the last 2 playoff runs with the Bulls like he was doing in '96. And like what he was doing in his prime with Detroit in the late 80s, early 90s. So that's a narrative that we got to eliminate when it comes to that, but they still continue to mention that. So
yeah. If I can interject on a couple of things, and again, I agree with what you're saying as far as, Scottie Pippen, his decision. I wish he wouldn't have did it. I say I I understand why he did it, but obviously it wasn't the wisest thing to do. But and you know what, I'm going to see if I can find it. But Phil Jackson had a penchant, for calling plays for other players. He did call a play for Kukoc when Michael Jordan was on the court.
He did.
I have a video. I'm going to have to see if I can find it where you could tell the play was for Kukoc. Jordan runs up, bumps Kukoc, and catches the ball and chucks up a shot, and he misses. But you can definitely tell that play was for Kukoc, right?
No.
And I know I've said this before, Louis, and I tell anybody, you go back and look at the history and what was going on with Tony Kukoc and Scottie Pippen, and where Kukoc was the highest paid player on the Bulls at one time, even though Jordan and Pippen, and they had won 3 championships and all these things. But if you remember, I said in that fateful play, if you look at the play before, Scottie Pippen has the ball. He's trying to clear out, and Kukoc wouldn't leave. Right now, you go back. Look at all the stuff that they had gone through. It was documented in the Olympics. They had, they wanted to show up Kukoc and all these things like that because, like Jordan said, it was like, you had these 2 sons, and now all of a sudden you got the other son, and now you're making, you like forgetting about us and all these things. And when you go to that play, this was Pippen's chance, and he had Kukoc and Kerr in the corner, right? And he tried to clear them out. Kerr left. Kukoc stayed. Pippen made a move, and it brought off Kukoc's man to help him out, and he was forced to chuck up a shot. And he was pissed at Kukoc because he wouldn't move. Then Jackson turns around and says, "Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and give Kukoc the opportunity." Yeah, I just feel like, based on everything that was said, even to this day, irregardless of what we actually saw out of Scottie Pippen, people are still going to disrespect this man, and Phil Jackson, put him in a very, very bad situation.
I'm gonna say
he was in a no-win situation.
I'm gonna say this real quick. When you're talking about that play, I agree with you. But you know what really bothers me? I get mad at both Scottie and Phil, and here's why. First of all, why didn't Phil get on Tony Kukoc when Scottie Pippen was telling Kukoc to move? And I wish Scottie would have told Phil Jackson that too. And Scottie didn't do that. He was so upset that he went to the bench. And I remember that play that you're talking about. Scottie was furious at Tony. And I was looking at Tony when I saw that. And I was like, why didn't Tony Kukoc move? I remember I saw the game. I watched the game when the Knicks came back. And Patrick had 14 fourth quarter points when he tied the game. First of all, and I looked at that and I said to myself, I'm like, yo, Scottie's trying to put himself in position to try to make a play here because he's trying to show he's the best. What I can't stand is I cannot believe that Phil not only did not get at Tony Kukoc, I wish Scottie would have told him something, but he didn't get on Tony Kukoc, and then Phil's got the nerve to call the last play for Tony Kukoc. And when you were talking about with Michael Jordan in that video, I've seen Jordan do this before. And like I said, this is Jordan's problem. Jordan is very insecure with himself. I've said this time and time again. As great as Jordan is, he's very insecure about himself and about his image. It's a fact. That's a battle he's been dealing with even after retirement. 17 years in retirement, now owner of the Charlotte Hornets. He's still dealing with that. Jordan did whatever it takes to win. I mean, he even said it in his Hall of Fame speech, man. If he had to bump a guy just to get the basketball. I told you, he was not a Phil Jackson guy because of the fact that his attempts were going to go down. Phil was on record as saying he was going to make MJ average 23 to 24 points a game. Jordan said we're going to be somewhere in the middle because Jordan was averaging, 37?
Hell yeah.
Jordan said, hell no, I'll come down to 30, 31, but I'm not going down no more than that. That's basically what he was. He didn't want the ball out of his hands that much. So that's what he was saying. He was not. He actually liked Phil, to be honest with you. He actually liked Phil, but he didn't like the fact that the ball was going to be out of his hands a lot more once that system came into place. And people need to understand this, man. The Bulls were not going to win a championship with Doug Collins. Doug Collins did a very good job when he was there. They got to the conference finals. The problem is Doug is too emotional, too emotional, and that rubs players the wrong way. they were not going to win the champ. Take a look at Chuck Daly. He started off emotional, but over time, you saw Chuck Daly become that calm coach.
He really calmed down. Yeah.
And in pressurized situations, why do you think Chuck never broke a sweat? Because he already knew what he was going to do. And the thing is, he learned how to be able to mature. That they weren't going to do that with Doug Collins. There's a reason why Doug Collins has not been able to. And Doug, to this day, resents that he was not able to win a championship as a coach. But part of the reason is because he's always stuck in his ways. I thought he was much more mature, over the years and, doing a good job coaching young teams to the playoffs. But again, he was not going to be able to win because he doesn't have that. He's not really a guy that's about structure when it comes to offense. And with Jordan, he just gave him the green light. So I'm gonna say this.
He did the same thing again.
Hold on, I'm gonna say this about Scottie Pippen real quick before Tyree goes. In my personal opinion, Scottie Pippen is a better defender than Michael Jordan. That's a fact. Scottie is more versatile than MJ. Scottie could defend more positions than MJ. That's a fact. I've seen Scottie play my whole career. I can honestly tell you, Scottie Pippen is a better. Michael is a good defender. Don't get me wrong. But in my opinion, Scottie is the better defensive player. He's the best defensive player, arguably, that the Bulls ever had. That's my respect on Scottie. But go ahead, Tyree.
Well, I would like to say two things. That with Michael Jordan fans, they do the same thing as LeBron James fans. When Michael Jordan wins, it's Michael Jordan and everybody else. When LeBron James wins, it's LeBron James and everybody else. But the only thing is that Jordan hasn't lost, so they can't use the excuse as Jordan never had no help. But they use it when he wins. When they say Scottie Pippen, Jordan made Scottie Pippen. So when you say Jordan made Scottie Pippen and Scottie Pippen wasn't top 10 or 15 in the league, you're actually helping people's case as going against Jordan, saying that, well, how can Jordan win in a league where the player that he was playing with was top ranked 20 to 25? That makes no sense. It's either his conference was weak or his competition was weak. There's no way a guy could win 6 NBA championships when he made somebody else. So you I
already said this, like in the 90s when the Bulls was winning, that NBA, that era wasn't that good like that. I already said that.
Oh God.
See, and you had expansion, you had expansions going on in that era too.
So I'm asking,
you gotta remember that.
When you say Scottie Pippen wasn't that good, then that means that Jordan won in a league where the competition was weak. But if you say Scottie Pippen was that good, now you can rate people better than, you have a better case for Jordan being the GOAT when you compare him to LeBron James. Because I hear people saying that Kyrie Irving and D Wade is better than Scottie Pippen.
Well, it depends on it depends on how you compare them, because I would say that both Kyrie and Wade, they're better offensive players overall than the Scottie Pippen.
But Scottie Pippen is better defensively. He never had a
It depends.
He never had a Shaq. If Scottie Pippen was D Wade, he never had a Shaq. And Antoine Walker. Who else was on that team?
D Wade is more accomplished than Scottie Pippen, man.
Absolutely, but D Wade had a better team than Scottie Pippen.
Whoa.
D Wade had a better team than Scottie Pippen.
What's the role for?
No. Dwayne Wade is not more accomplished than Scottie Pippen. No, he's not.
He had a better team than Scottie Pippen. You give Scottie Pippen those teammates, I believe he would have a championship. Kyrie Irving.
I mean, I think if you gave, I'm sorry, bro. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
If you gave Kyrie Irving, LeBron James, and Kevin Love, Scottie Pippen would have. You gave Scottie Pippen, LeBron James, and Kevin Love. Scottie Pippen would have championships. So you can't say those players were better because of the championships that they have and helped get and value. And put Scottie Pippen down like that. Either Scottie Pippen was great or he wasn't. So if he wasn't great, there's no way a guy with 6 championships with 2 3-peats and have one of the 20th best players at that era on his team. There's no way. It's not possible.
He won those 6 championships because of Jordan, bro. He had Jordan on that team.
Hold on.
I'm not disputing that. But if you can't say that he made Scottie Pippen and Scottie Pippen wasn't even top 10, that don't even make sense. You can't win 2 3-peats and not have a top 10 player on your team.
Well, look at it this way. When you look at Scottie's overall ranking in terms of all time, he's not a top 10 player. In terms of where he was.
No, he's not.
when you look at where Scottie was at the time in the NBA, Scottie definitely was one of the best players in the NBA, and he was definitely a top 10 player. Some would argue top 5 when you look at Scottie in the 90s. Now, in terms of
Scottie was top 7.
Hold on, and when
look at the Bulls '91 championship. Scottie Pippen wasn't even an All-Star that year.
But here's the thing, though. This is where I'm going to get into.
But the same could be same as 2016. I don't think Kyrie Irving made an All-Star that year.
No, Kyrie Irving was not an All-Star. But here's my issue when we compare those guys. The thing is that when you look at the number 2s for what Jordan had when he won his first championship, and then for what LeBron won in his championship in 2016, the thing with Scottie Pippen was people love to say that when Jordan was only 1-9 without Scottie Pippen. I would agree with you if Scottie Pippen helped the Bulls win the title in 1988, but they didn't do that. And Scottie was a non-factor against the Cleveland Cavaliers. In 1989, Scottie gets better, but then they lose to Detroit Pistons. And the thing is, the Bulls were the only team to give Detroit their only 2 losses in the postseason.
Not to cut you off, Lou, though. What year Scottie Pippen got drafted?
87.
1987.
Okay, so
he was traded for.
You can't put 88 on a young player that just come into the league like that. You have to give a player time to grow. So when you say
Tyreek, that's my point. That's what I'm basically saying. People are saying that Jordan was 1-9 without Scottie Pippen, and what I'm telling you is Scottie Pippen really needed time to develop. That's basically what I'm saying. But the only reason that some people kind of go a little bit overboard, and I didn't mean to cut you off when they say that Jordan helped make Scottie. Because the thing is, Jordan could try to push Scottie, but let's face it, if Scottie doesn't put the work to try to get better, then guess what? The Bulls don't win the championship. So Scottie's development was crucial for the Bulls' success. It's the same with Horace Grant, John Paxson, Bill Cartwright, when they draft B.J. Armstrong and they come together, they get Cliff Levingston, who a lot of people wrote off when he was in Atlanta. They thought he was nothing, and he ended up being one of the unsung heroes for the Bulls in their 91 championship team. But Scottie's development, especially going up against the Pistons, remember, Scottie and the Bulls, they were going through a mental hurdle as they were getting better and better each and every single year. Once Scottie was mentally ready, it was done. That was it. The Bulls were ready mentally, physically. They physically built their bodies because Detroit was physically and mentally beating them up. As soon as they got there, and I say this again, Pippen may have not been an all-star, just like how Kyrie was not an all-star in 2016. But what we cannot deny is Pippen is as vital to the 91 championship Bulls as Kyrie Irving was to the 2016 team. The problem is when we look at people who love Jordan and people who love LeBron, when they don't have the players they need, it's always they don't have the necessary players to win. But then when those guys win the championships, like you were saying, you're right. People will come out and say, "Oh, Jordan was the reason this," or "LeBron was the reason that." And I'm saying, obviously, it takes a team to win because the dynamic players, the best players, are going to get those individual awards. But we all know it's a team game at the end of the day. And I've always been on record saying, dude, Jordan does not win 6 championships without Scottie. It's the same thing as Scottie doesn't win 6 without Jordan. Just like Kyrie doesn't get his chip in Cleveland without LeBron, but LeBron going back to Cleveland and being with Kyrie entails him to have an opportunity to win a championship. So at the end of the day, Scottie Pippen is one of the 50 greatest players in NBA history. Wherever you want to rank him, again, everybody's got the
20th.
I wouldn't go that high in terms of 20th.
He's 20th.
I mean, that's your personal opinion.
He's not even a top 10 small forward of all time. So how
yes, he is. He's top 10, bro.
Yeah, he is.
You
couldn't name 10 small forwards better than Scottie.
I just named it. Lou, did not just name that. Did not just name my top 10.
Top 10 small forward. Yes, he is, bro.
Answer the question, Lou. Did not name my top 10 before on your segment.
You didn't name your top 10 forwards, but you can tell it to these guys.
Even at the time, even if you go off of talent, yes, Charles Barkley was a better talent.
He's not a small forward.
No.
But he's not a small forward, bro.
Barkley's a power forward.
Yeah, I got to hear this. Who is your top 10 small forwards?
All right,
that get over Pippen?
And all, hey, when I say these small forwards, all these small forwards was franchise players.
Okay.
All
right.
So here it goes. It's not in a particular order. I'm just bringing up names.
All right.
LeBron James, Larry Bird,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Dr. J.
Yep.
Okay.
Elgin Baylor.
Yep. Gotta give him that too.
Rick Barry.
Nope. But go ahead. Go ahead.
Rick Barry,
Hey.
cold man.
Absolutely not. Hell no.
Rick
Go ahead,
Barry,
bro.
Hey, I love Elgin Baylor, but I'm putting Scottie Pippen over Elgin Baylor.
Not me. That's
Well, I
your
would
opinion.
too,
Everybody
but-
entitled to it. But
Well,
anyway,
Well, I'm putting Scottie Pippen over Elgin.
I can the only reason I can see Scottie going over Elgin Baylor just because of accomplishments alone. Scottie was a better defensive player than Elgin Baylor. Elgin obviously was a better scorer, but Elgin was a franchise player because he was drafted on. But okay, like I said, everybody's opinion. But go ahead, Jay.
Dominique Wilkins.
No,
Oh God.
no.
All right, your
Started
opinion.
off so well.
John Havlicek.
Yeah,
No.
Yeah, I'll give John Havlicek it. I'll give it to him.
Oh, did John Havlicek?
Yeah, I'll
That
give it
dude's
John Havlicek.
underrated. He doesn't get talked about enough.
Yeah,
I'll
John
give it-
Havlicek. Yeah, hell yeah.
No, I wouldn't. No, I agree with you, Ken. No.
How many names I got so far? How many names I said so far?
That's what is it? 5 or 6?
Kevin Durant, Kawhi Leonard. How many is that?
That's 7.
Wow.
Who those? Damn. I know you mentioned those guys, but those two are kind of iffy, and more so Kawhi, just because of the fact that Kawhi's got a lot to prove, especially.
They still franchise players. Hey,
But just because you're a franchise player doesn't necessarily mean that you're better than the second best player that's winning 6 championships. Like Trae Young,
talent-wise, Kawhi and Durant is better than Pippen. Talent,
like this is what I'm about to say.
That's
Like
not even
Trae
debatable.
Young, like Trae Young, he's a franchise player, right?
You're right.
But Paul George plays with Kawhi. I think Kawhi is still a better player than Trae Young.
Well, you're comparing a
small forward.
No, I'm just saying though. No,
he's just comparing. I see what he's saying.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
No,
that,
he's going just
a
basically off franchise players.
Doesn't mean you better.
Because that's what Jason is saying. He's saying, okay, well, these guys are better than Pippen just because Pippen wasn't a franchise player and these guys were. So then he brings up somebody that's a franchise player today that probably wouldn't be considered better than. I don't know if Kawhi would be the number 2 guy on the Clippers though. I mean, I think
Paul
Kawhi
George
would be, or yeah. I mean, I probably would take Paul George over Trae, but
over Trae Young, exactly. But Trae Young right now is a franchise player.
You guys just gave me an idea for my next video. We're gonna talk about small forwards. This is gonna be an interesting one.
Who else you got, Jay Jefferson? Because that was 7.
All right, hold on. Let me say this again. LeBron James, that's 1. Larry Bird, that's 2. Dr. J, that's 3. Rick Barry, that's 4.
John Havlicek,
that's 5. Elgin Baylor, that's 6.
Kevin Durant,
Kawhi Leonard, that's 8. That's 8.
You said Dominique. Did you say Dominique?
Yeah, he said Dominique.
Yeah, so that's 9, right?
Right.
All right. And number 10, I got Big Game James.
James Worthy.
Yep.
I could post so many. I wouldn't even give. I definitely wouldn't give you James Worthy, but I could post so many holes in half of them dudes. Some of them dudes, LeBron James, Bird. Durant would probably definitely when his career is over.
And James Worthy actually was the 3rd option or 4th option on his team.
But he was also NBA Finals MVP though.
He was, but it's because the team had to.
Scottie Pippen never did that.
I mean,
it's a fact.
Well,
it's a fact,
but James Worthy never.
Yeah, well, I mean, but James Worthy never. But James Worthy never won 6 championships.
Right.
1988 NBA Finals MVP, bro. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, but James Worthy never won 6 championships.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, but James Worthy never had Michael Jordan either, though.
He had Magic. They sure could have used.
But Magic ain't better than Jordan though. Stop
right,
it.
But
they
ball like Michael Jordan.
Stop it.
But well, let me ask you a question, Jason. What happened to James Worthy and Magic in 1990 against the Suns? They sure could have used that Finals MVP spirit then.
What happened when they got?
Come on, man. I mean, there's far too many times when I seen what happened when Magic left? James Worthy was a joke, and don't tell me he was old. He wasn't old. The Lakers just didn't have it.
And when they
this is what I'm saying. We're actually able to see how these guys can play out when they don't have their number 1 guy. But we're going to give these dudes breaks over Scottie Pippen when Pippen is faring better than all these dudes in the same situations. I don't. What are we talking about here?
Better than who? But who
I
is he
don't get
better
it.
than? Who is he better than?
Hold on, real quick.
Well, okay. Let's take Havlicek. Okay, Havlicek played in the 70s, right? Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, real quick before you go. I just want to say shout out to Players Ball in the chat, man. I see all your comments, man. Appreciate you for being here. Go ahead, Ken.
Hey, hold on, Ken. Before you go, Ken, I'm gonna let you go. But I have to ask Jay Jefferson one thing. Okay, you said that not Charles Barkley. You said James Worthy was better than Scottie Pippen, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so now you have Michael Jordan and James Worthy on the same team. Are they winning 2 3-peats?
It's possible.
No, God.
I don't see it.
It's
bro.
possible. It's possible.
It's possible, but I don't see it, bro.
It's possible.
So you're gonna say that James Worthy is better than Scottie Pippen just because James Worthy has a Finals MVP?
No, I just thought he was a better player, man. And in big game situations, he always comes through for the Lakers.
I just gave you an example when he didn't. When they were heavily favored too.
That's just one example.
How many times did Scottie Pippen lose as a favorite?
He had
Never.
Jordan on the court. He had Jordan on the court.
It don't matter. It don't matter.
James
It don't matter. He had MJ. Look, Magic Johnson's not chopped liver. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is not chopped liver.
Absolutely.
And they still lost quite a few times when they had no business losing. No business losing.
They got swept.
Yeah, they not chopped liver. They not chopped liver, but they not in the caliber of Michael Jordan, bro.
Well, come on, man. Like I said, Michael Jordan is the greatest ever to me too. I'm not finna sit here and say that he's like light years better than Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Magic Johnson.
But we cannot penalize players for playing with Michael Jordan. Just because Scottie Pippen played with Michael Jordan doesn't penalize Scottie Pippen.
How come Michael Jordan wasn't winning championships before he got Scottie Pippen?
Good question.
You know, he had Orlando Woodridge. They got him to the playoffs, and again, understand.
Hey, in the '80s, his roster was basically dope heads, man. Come on now, that was
everybody in the league was dope heads, not just his team. Everybody in the NBA was doping up.
It was the crack era, bro. Everybody was dope heads.
Yeah.
Everybody was doped up, bro. A lot of people in the Lakers. I'm from LA, bro. A lot of them people in the Lakers was dope heads, bro.
Even Detroit.
I think Michael Cooper admitted to using crack all the time.
Hey, even in Detroit, there was coke heads.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not trying to say Jordan is not the greatest. Jordan is the greatest ever. But Pippen won because he had Jordan. You can say that about everybody.
But at the end of the day, basketball is a team accomplishment. It's a team game. Like it's a fact. Michael Jordan doesn't win those 6 titles without Scottie Pippen. I'm not gonna go here and just go hard on Pippen. Pippen was a great role player. He was great at what he did.
He wasn't just a role player. He was a Batman.
Yeah,
Jason,
he was a Robin. You know what I'm saying? He was a great Robin.
Right.
I'm sorry, Robin.
Yeah, he was a great one.
But I don't understand. I don't understand. Let me put it to you like this. I am a big. Go ahead, bro.
But here's the thing: I get mad about. Everybody wanted to overrate Scottie Pippen like he was this great superstar player, and in reality, he wasn't. And that's all I'm griping about. That's it.
Hey, Jay Jefferson, the reason why people overrate Scottie Pippen is because people underrate Scottie Pippen. It's like the Kobe effect. A lot of Kobe Bryant people overrate Kobe, and then he has his fans. He has his fans that overrate him, and then they have people that underrate him. So the same thing goes for Scottie Pippen.
But I'm gonna say this: I give Pippen his props. He's the greatest number 2 player in the history of the sport. I give him that.
I got you, bro. I'm just saying, based on what I saw out of Pippen, and I'll say this, and I'll tell anybody, Scottie Pippen is the only player that I can think of, that could anchor a defense, which is what he did in '95. He was a defensive anchor of that team and run the offense. He's the only, no other player I've ever seen in the NBA could do that. Nobody. Okay, nobody. And then give you 20 points, be your best rebounder, all these things like we were talking about earlier. If you compare,
You
You know,
said
people
okay.
that y'all
Say
know
that,
you guys should.
Ken. Say that one more time about Scottie Pippen. You said he's the only player
I
that did
said he's
what?
the only player. Find me another player that can anchor a defense, right?
Yeah.
And run an offense along with doing everything else.
That's easy. Kevin Garnett.
Who?
Kevin Garnett.
Kevin Garnett can't run the offense. When you ever seen Kevin Garnett play point guard?
Yeah, the offense never went through Kevin Garnett.
You crazy as hell.
No, I mean, no. I'm not saying run it off like like you're the number one option. I'm saying you have to run the offense. That means you're bringing the ball down the court. You're seeing how the defense is going to set up. You're calling plays. You're putting players in a position. All these things you got to do in order to. Kevin Garnett never had to do that. He never had to do that. Never.
I don't know.
Okay. Nah, Kevin Garnett never had to do that. Okay, he could put the ball on the floor, but he wasn't running offense like a point guard. That is not Kevin Garnett. LeBron James never anchored a defense. Never did. He was a good defender, but I've seen him run from a lot of challenges that he probably shouldn't have. And again, I'm talking about anchor defense. I'm talking about, you are the one that has to make up for everybody's mistakes, and that's what Pippen did. Okay, no other player has ever done that.
So Jordan never did that. So Michael Jordan never did that.
No, Michael Jordan never did that. No. He was a great.
He never.
He was a great. No, Michael Jordan was never. Michael Jordan. Hold on, Michael Jordan was never. Michael Jordan. When Pippen and Jordan was playing, Jordan never ran the offense. Pippen ran the offense. Okay, but I'm talking about in them 2 years. I mean, nobody has ever done what Scottie Pippen did. It's never happened.
I seen Jordan.
You're just saying that, bro. You never seen Michael Jordan anchor the defense and run the offense.
He did. He did run an offense. He did run an offense.
No, I know. It was a time when he played point guard, but he never anchored. He was never the defensive anchor, bro. I mean, I'm looking at the 1995 Bulls. They were the number 2 defense in the league. Okay, their bigs was Will Perdue, Larry Krystkowiak, and Tony Kukoc.
So we're gonna sit up here and act like Michael Jordan never anchored a defense when he was the defensive player of the year. We're gonna sit up here and act like
he was not the defensive anchor, bro. He was not the defensive anchor. He was. I wouldn't call Gary Payton a defensive anchor. He could be. You could be the best defender on your team.
Who was the defensive anchor for the Bulls then? Jordan won that, in that year. That year he won the defensive player of the year. Who was the defensive anchor then?
No, that's all I want to know. To be fair, the reason why Jordan won that defensive player of the year because he steals, blocks, and also he was averaging about 30 points.
I mean, hold on, Jason. When I'm saying anchor a defense, this is what I mean. Michael Jordan could lock up a dude, lock up his man. That's what he's responsible for. You lock up your man, right? Every now and then he come off and he blindside block a player or whatever, right? Scottie Pippen would have to lock up his man, right? I've seen situations where if another guy was getting torched, they had to move Pippen. Like let's say that one situation with Barkley, where it's on video. You can look it up on YouTube, where Barkley starts off torching, the Bulls bigs. So you can do all you want to.
Man, I've seen a lot of games where Pippen was getting torched on defense.
Yeah, see, and then here you know what? You can say that about everybody.
Yeah,
what's that one dude from the Bullets that torched Jordan? I mean, with Bradford Smith. Right. I mean, you can say everybody. I'm not saying that Pippen. Everybody gets torched, bro. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that Pippen never got lit up. But Jamal Mashburn lit up Pippen for I think 51.
Exactly. Yeah, right. Grant Hill always destroys
him. They usually would keep Michael Jordan on a smaller goal.
T-Max.
No, but again, that doesn't undo the fact that on a night in night out basis, the Bulls look to Pippen to basically run the offense and anchor the defense.
Absolutely.
That's what the Bulls look to Pippen to do.
Absolutely.
On top of scoring, on top of rebound, and all the other stuff he did.
I don't know about that. Jordan did that too.
Pippen wasn't running the triangle offense. He would average about triple-double every game, bro.
You had Artis Gilmore Artis Gilmore was their starting center, and you had Charles Oakley in the year that in 1988 when Jordan won the defensive player of the year. So and I would say that Oakley and Gilmore, well, Gilmore only played 24 games, so he was old. But I mean,
So who was
I
the
think
defensive anchor in '88? Who was the defensive anchor in '88?
I would probably say it probably was Oakley. It wasn't MJ. Like I said, MJ. Look, bro. Like I said, you can lock up a man, but that does not mean that you got to help on everybody. You got to make up for people's mistakes, right? That's what Pippen did. Jordan never did it. He didn't have to. Okay, he did not have to do that. That's what Pippen did. Pippen not only that. Pippen, remember you see in the interviews where they'll say that Phil Jackson told a player to go do this, and he did something different. And Phil Jackson, why'd you do that? And they say, because Scottie told me to. Oh, okay. That's the value that you guys want to discuss. I always talk about impact as opposed to, we can talk about stats and everything like that, but impact, that's the key. And in those 2 years, and it's unfortunate we only got to see 2 years. No, it's not, because I mean the Bulls probably don't win. But we only got to see those 2 years of Scottie Pippen. He was third in MVP and number 2 in Defensive Player of the Year. Who else can say something like that? How many players can say that they're yearly the top defender and an MVP candidate? I mean, you can't. I get it. People want to call him a role player, but that's what I'm saying. I think his contributions to the Bulls was greatly undermined in the Last Dance. Greatly undermined. Greatly. They didn't talk about Scottie Pippen's role in 1998 when he single-handedly, because he was a defensive anchor, shut down the Utah Jazz and only allowed them to score 54 points. Okay? I mean, he drew like 8 or 9 charges. I think he accounted for I watched the game one time. Pippen, I think, accounted for like 15 of the Jazz 30-something turnovers. Pippen by himself.
I'm gonna have to watch that.
They also didn't talk about.
I'm gonna have to watch that. I'm gonna have to watch that all over again, man.
Yeah, watch it. Game 3, 1998 NBA Finals.
Yeah, I'm gonna
they
do
also
some
you watch all the charges and all the and understand. When he helped out on John, you talking about John Stockton. We're not talking about chopped liver. We're talking about John Stockton here. He had John. I mean, he helped out with Harper, but they had John Stockton flustered. He was visibly flustered.
Stockton is not offensive minded anyway. He was never offensive.
See again. He's never been quote offensive minded, but that don't mean he's still a great point guard.
Yeah, he ran a great offense.
Yeah, he runs, and it was not great that night. I can tell you that. It was not great that night.
I didn't like in the documentary was how they was talking about how bad of a contract Scottie Pippen signed, but they never said that when Scottie Pippen signed his bad contract, all the great production they got out of Scottie Pippen with having one of the worst contracts in NBA history. Like they should have talked about that more. His production that he gave. Imagine now if one of the NBA players had one of the worst contracts in NBA history. How hard do you think they playing?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, and things were different back then, man. And I mean, Pippen had 2 sick family members that he had to take. I mean,
he had to take care of his family. He had to take care of his family. He knew he had a bad contract. He already knew that, but he had to sign it because he had to take care of his family.
But his production for his contract, like players right now, is not giving that production that Scottie Pippen gave for the contract that they signed. Like they got guys like Alec Porter Jr. Alec Porter Jr. is making $100 million and not even giving half the production that Scottie Pippen.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this, man. I know. Listen, I was one of those people that kind of got on Scottie because I didn't know he had signed a bad contract. But at the end of the day, I understand why he did it, so I didn't get on him for that. I was really pissed off at Jerry Reinsdorf. He just ran with that narrative talking about that. Oh, I told Scottie not to sign it. This is why I'm on record as saying Jerry Reinsdorf is the head king cobra of this whole Bulls operation.
Yeah, he ain't nothing but a devil, man.
It's a damn fact because when you look at everything that happened, the Bulls could have actually made another playoff run to try to win a championship. Jerry Reinsdorf let Jerry Krause take control of that team and just come on, man. You told Phil Jackson it doesn't matter if we go 82-0, you're not coming back last year. You're talking about the general manager of the team telling the head coach that, who at one time they were good friends. But
And Jordan quit.
And the I mean, Jerry Reinsdorf just sitting back, chilling, and nobody has ever gotten on him for that. And he has the nerve to say, well, Scottie should have never signed the contract. Like, you got to be kidding me. You should have given him an extension. You should have given him an extension. They should have. It just doesn't make sense.
They definitely should have.
Yeah, but Jordan quit. Nobody talk about how Jordan quit in 98, though. Jordan quit in 98. After he won that championship, he quit on his team.
I mean, you can say he quit. You can say he quit in 94. And see, this is another thing that people. I mean, granted, his father passed, and maybe it was just too much for him. But again, the double standard is real, because in 90, when Pippen had that migraine, people don't understand that 3 weeks before that, Pippen's father died. And he still had to go through with the playoffs. He didn't up and quit. His father up and died. But when Jordan's father died, I mean, I get it. I'm not knocking anybody, how you mourn or whatever, but I'm saying, why can't we not give Scottie Pippen a pass? Right? He loved his father, I'm sure too. His father died 3 weeks before that migraine. Then you got to go through. What Detroit was doing to him.
And that's why I said that I felt this documentary. I said I looked at Scottie in a more sympathetic side, because finding the fact that he's got 2 handicapped family members, the fact that Scottie Pippen's father died in 1990, like during that run trying to get to the NBA Finals and going up against the Pistons, and then he's having that migraine and stuff like that. I felt bad for Scottie when that happened, and like I said, he deserved to get paid just about as any other player in the NBA with the things that Scottie Pippen was doing.
Right.
So what I'm basically saying is that I think the way that Scottie got treated was unfair, because I don't think they took into account in terms of the what happened to him in his career. Like, when you look at the fact that his father died, I get it with Mike. I get it with, and the thing is, I get it with Jordan. The second retirement, I know he's what, 35, 36.
Yeah.
I was a little surprised that he retired. Like,
but his specific words was,
well,
if Phil Jackson not
the
coming back,
together.
I'm not coming back.
Right.
And when you say stuff like that, that means you're quitting.
I mean, but you know what? I can't knock him. I mean, he's 35. He's like, look, I'm not trying to go through a rebuild. I can't really fault him for that. And I mean, I still think.
But is that quitting?
That was 98, 2000. You're talking about over 20 years. Almost 20.
But
almost 25 years.
Asking, though, is that quitting though? Even still, that that the GM want to break up the team, and you say you're not coming back unless the team is together. That's not quitting.
Well, yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying.
You can say that about LeBron. You can say that about LeBron. He quit on his team too.
Right. That's what I'm saying. If you say about LeBron, you got to say about Jordan. But we give Jordan.
Right.
I just don't. I
agree with you. I agree with you, man. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could call it quitting, but again, I remember that vividly. I remember they were saying, "Look, well, just let us sign 1-year deals, right?" No one was trying to sign a long-term deal. Maybe Pippen, but
no, they were trying to trade Scottie Pippen for Tracy McGrady.
Trade T-Mac.
Yeah, but he didn't. But Jordan didn't want none of that. He was like, "Nope, I want the same team."
Right. He quit.
See, but I think what he was saying was, look, we'll sign 1-year deals. When we lose, you can break the team up, but let us defend our championship.
But here's the thing, Tyree, here's why I feel different towards you. The thing is, Michael Jordan was not the only player saying that, though. It was Scottie, it was Dennis. All those guys actually wanted to come back. The problem is that we just only look at it because it's Jordan. But if you watch the documentary, remember, they were trying to trade Scottie Pippen away. Scottie Pippen was trying to send a message to the front office about, basically, you're not going to pay me. Basically, I'm going to cause drama. So, and it's kind of like what Kyrie was kind of doing with the Cavs, that he didn't get traded. Like, you don't trade me, I'm going to hold out, with my knee injury, get surgery, and I miss games. So Pippen was kind of like in that Kyrie situation in a sense. But it's like I said, Pippen would have wanted to stay. Jordan would have wanted to stay. Remember, they had the Bulls as a team even the role players, they had to answer those questions all season long about the Last Dance. It was an entire season. So it was an entire season that not just Jordan, not just the stars, the head coach had to deal with it. The organization had to deal with it. The organization was the one that decided to make it a media frenzy. And you know the media's going to go all over that because who plays on that team? The, people got to understand this. When Dennis Rodman came to that Bulls team, they were treated like rock stars. So they were the Beatles pretty much from 96 to 98. They were getting all that attention. But Jordan was not the only one that said if he wasn't going to come back, if Phil didn't come back. And the thing is, you got to understand also, though, the reason Jordan said that was because his relationship with Phil had come a long way. This is the same Phil Jackson who he was not a fan of because he was not going to let him average 35, 37 a game. The thing is, Jordan saw the success. They won together. So the thing is, Jordan actually got to grow with Phil, just like with Scottie, and then just like with all those other players. And you got to understand that through it all, Jordan, Pippen, and Phil are the only ones that have all been there for all 6 championships. And the thing is, if you look at what the Bulls had, considering what will eventually be coming into the 2000s with Kobe, Shaq, and the Lakers, the Bulls could have had one more. They could have had one more run. And the thing is, they lost all those pieces. And look, they went from the number 1 seed in the East, and they became the worst team in the NBA. Like after all those pieces were gone, but that '98 season, everybody had to deal with that. It was a distraction all year, all those players. So I can understand, and I think that's Ken left, but so I can sort of understand what you were saying, but at the end of the day, everybody had to deal with that drama. So all the players, they wanted to come back, but it just wasn't going to happen. So, and the organization decided that they were pretty much bigger than the players and that's what happened. And, you know, they was on record on that. So, but anyway, man. So I'm going to put a close to this stream. Shout out to Tyree once again, man. Thank you for the donation, and
I appreciate you guys having me, man.
God bless you. God bless your family as well, man, and your son. And appreciate the $20 donation. Salute to you, J. Jeff. You know how he gets with these Scottie Pippen talks, Scottie Pippen talks. But at the end of the day, you know what it is. I only call him simping is just more so because of Larsa Pippen. I just wish Pippen had a more. And I hate the fact that his kids go through this, man, because Scottie Jr. is already tired of the way Larsa's acting. That's kind of my issue. I just wish Pippen. I feel like Larsa's got some kind of secret on Scottie that he keeps taking her back. That's just got to be it. That because he could have got rid of her if he wanted to a long time ago.
That's just Scottie Pippen personality though. Because even with a documentary showed us when he first got into the league, how he was bullied by Charles Oakley.
Yeah,
and he was bullied by the Detroit Pistons. So he's just a dude that you can easily walk over and also
he's weak-minded.
Right. And Larsa Pippen, she's seen a target. And now, I mean, look at Scottie Pippen. He has no self-confidence. He don't feel like he can get the baddest B's. So he just cool with whatever.
I always said this about Scottie Pippen. Scottie Pippen had the potential to be one of the greatest ever, man.
Yeah, he just don't have that mental.
His skill set shows that.
Right.
But you know what it is? I think that's kind of the reason why people kind of disrespect Scottie Pippen. It's not the fact that Scottie's not a great player. Right. I just think that people get on Scottie's personality a lot, and that's why they kind of
Scottie Pippen is the reason why Scottie Pippen is not considered one of the GOATs. Scottie Pippen is the reason.
I agree with that. Yeah. I agree with that.
It's not that Scottie's not, and that's like I said, Scottie is a great player. It's just I think that Scottie's personality is the reason that people kind of disrespect him. And if Scottie had more, to me, and the way that he's dealing with this situation with his ex-wife, I don't even know if. Because they're saying they're divorced, but then he took it back. He gave her a promise ring. It just tells me that to me, Scottie is just he's insecure about himself and he's got some low self-esteem going on.
Yeah, and not just that. I actually feel bad for him.
But not just that though. When you have a family and as a man, you had a family with a woman that you've been with for about 20 years.
Yeah.
No matter what trials and tribulations you guys go through, as a man, you still try to work things out, especially being that old. You know what I'm saying? Like Scottie Pippen, I'm pretty sure he don't want to try over again with a new woman and kick the woman to his child to the curb. You know what I'm saying? He's still trying to make it work, man.
But you know what it is, though? It's something that I'm not finding right about this just because I feel like Larsa kind of looks at it in the sense that she probably feels that Scottie's cheated on her. And I feel like, I don't know. I just feel like
stories. There's been reports that he did. Like him and Jordan used to run through hoes a lot, man.
But I'm pretty sure that she was one of the chicks that was with Scottie Pippen when he was cheating on his first wife.
I'm pretty
Sure.
sure.
I'm pretty
So,
sure. Yeah.
so I mean, she already kind of knew too, and she seen that how weak he was, that she can always walk over him whenever.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like I said, man.
But at that age, though, Lou, when you have a family, man, I'm telling you, you all as a man, you always still try to do whatever it takes, even how silly, no matter how silly it may seem, a man would always try to keep his family together.
Right. If you're a real man, that's facts.
No,
Yeah, he would. You go keep trying, man.
no,
Yeah.
of course, but I just
Now,
say
if
that the key. No, go ahead,
sorry.
Tyree. What was you gonna say?
Well, I'm about to say, if he was 23, 24, and he was doing all that, then you have something like, okay, yeah, Scottie Pippen, you tripping. But this man in his 50s, he got like 3 or 4 kids with this woman. They've been together for about 20 years. I mean, he's saying, bro, come on. I know you're doing that crazy stuff, but let's just keep our family together.
Well, the thing is, I'm more upset about Larsa that she's putting Scottie under the bus like that. And like I said, her oldest son who plays college basketball, he's even getting tired of the talk. Because I said like this: imagine if let's say your Scottie's your dad, and you got kids coming up to you in college, or kids coming up to you in the elementary school, and they're like, "Yo, I just saw your mom on TV. Yo, she with another man and shit. You know how hard that is. You got to deal with.
Probably
that.
gotta hear that shit in school too. Like, come on, man.
That's
I
not
agree.
easy.
I agree.
People can easily troll you for that, and you ain't got, and you're not even a part of it, and you're part of it because of family. It's like, 'cause that's your mom and dad.
Right.
It's like, yo, and it's like,
And as a man, Scottie Pippen should be able to hold that marriage. He should be able to hold it down. You know what I'm saying? As a man.
Yeah, which is
he has failed doing that. You know what I'm saying?
Which is what I'm
like
saying.
Tyree said, it's just his personality. Like, he's weak minded.
Yeah, that's just my only thing, man. It's just not, and it's like that's why I said that sometimes when I look at the way he kind of played the game, like that's what I kind of get on.
Yeah, he can get down on himself. He can get down on himself.
I'm not saying, like, listen, don't get me wrong, man. Scottie Pippen is a great player. Was a great player. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to bash Scottie Pippen. You know what I'm saying? Skill set wise, he should be one of the GOATs, man. I'm just gonna keep it real. He should be one of the GOATs when it comes to his skill set. But Scottie Pippen is the reason why Scottie Pippen is not talked about as one of the GOATs.
I agree. He was the first LeBron James.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm on record.
Easily.
That's why I said that when you compare LeBron James, I hate the fact that they kind of compared him to Jordan because they're two different players. If you look at LeBron, I could compare it. Look, LeBron is a Karl Malone, Scottie Pippen type player, somebody who does everything and is built kind of like a power forward. That's why I would look at LeBron. He's like a 3-4 combined. LeBron's like a creative player when you look at LeBron James. So that's why I said that.
And you know what, Lewis? I'm glad y'all said. Remember how I used to get frustrated. I used to keep my emotions when y'all say LeBron James was over Kobe. And I love Kobe. But if I'm creating a 2K player, I am creating a LeBron James. And as much as I love Kobe.
But here's the thing with Kobe, though. The thing with Kobe that I said, look, I've said this on record live streams like before. I've said this on like numerous live streams. I've said it on record. Mm-hmm. Kobe Bryant is one of my favorite players, and I used to be a fanboy of him. What I did was that I started to study his career more, and I started to watch a lot of games. And what I realized was I was overrating Kobe more than what he should have. And that's great. And the thing is, again, that's how I see it when I watch Kobe. And I said, as great as Kobe Bryant was, I don't blame. I'm not, it's not his fault that he was traded to the Lakers and he had to work his way up when he had to deal with guys like Eddie Jones. There's no way you're going to start out with Eddie Jones. And he's another one of the more underrated players.
Underrated.
Right.
Yeah.
That's like LeBron coming. That's like LeBron getting drafted to a team that Grant Hill is on.
Exactly.
Detroit Pistons. Yeah.
Right. And the thing is, though, the guys who I have above Kobe, they were slightly more impactful than Kobe was in his career. And like I said, Kobe has arguably a top 10 resume when you look at his career. And sometimes when you criticize his career, when you kind of criticize his career, there's like you got to put a lot of context into it because Kobe's got one of the weirdest careers in NBA history. When you look at when you really delved into his career, it's really, really, really weird because there's some things that you could easily say, well, Kobe didn't do this. And then when you consider eras that he played in, when you look at other things and you factor some things, you're like, because people are always saying that 2000s basketball is arguably the greatest basketball era. They'll also say that Kobe played in the hardest defensive era, his first 8 seasons of his career. They'll mention that stuff. Like in terms of that, they always talk about that Kobe played in some of the slowest paces in NBA history when you consider his field goal percentage, even though he was a volume scorer and all that. So they'll say things like that. I just say that the guys
I would say the 12 years. 12 years.
Oh, to be honest with you, the pace really didn't pick up until like about 2014, 2015, around there. Kobe was actually the funny thing is, even when LeBron was on the Heat, the pace was still slow. It was starting to move faster, but it was still slow. But that's what I'm just saying. I just said that the guys I have above him, and it's like not Kobe's fault of his own. To be honest with you, that's why when I did the MVP video, if we were giving it to the best players, Kobe should have at least 3. If we're doing best players. If we're doing basically off of narrative and team success, Nash and Nowitzki deserve their MVPs like that.
The only thing I disagree with people that has Kobe out of their top 10. I would like to tell them the top 10 requirements that you have for not putting him in. You have to apply that with every player that you do have in your top 10. So you can't say Kobe was inefficient and have Bill Russell. You can't say Kobe in 04, 05 against Pistons had a bad game, but you got Magic Johnson in there and Shaq. So I'll just say that all the top 10 requirements that you do have, you have to hold it consistent to every top 10 player you do have over Kobe.
The thing is, the reason, so I can understand that, but when you compare a guy like Kobe and Shaq, the crazy part about it is when I look at that, I'm like, well, what was Kobe able to do post Shaq? He didn't do nothing in the beginning, but then guess what? He went to 3 straight finals. He won 2 finals MVPs, and he won a regular season MVP.
He had to get a big to do that, though. Yeah.
This is why I have him over Shaq. Shaq, when he won his championship without Kobe, was D-Wade better than Paul Gasol as a player? Would you take D-Wade over Paul Gasol?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah,
and you take
no doubt.
So that's 2 rings he won with a lesser player that Shaq had by winning 1. So that means Kobe actually did a whole lot more post Shaq than Shaq did post Kobe with the lesser talent.
I can agree with that.
And they both have 1 MVP.
I see what you're trying to do.
And they both have 1 MVP.
I see what he's trying to do. But all right, I'll give you that.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to a close. I want to thank everybody in the chat for being here. Salute to you guys. Salute to the new subscribers who have subscribed to the channel. I saw that I'm over 1.2K subscribers, so I appreciate that.
Hey, that's what's up, Luke.
That's what's up, man. Keep on grinding, baby.
All right, man. We're going to keep grinding. We're going to keep
I remember when Lou was on the tablet, man. It was dark in that room, and he was going over Kobe PERs, man. It was like maybe a year or 2 ago.
Yeah, man.
You came a long way, bro.
Yeah, man. See, when I first started, it was like
on a tablet. He was going through all the stats on the tablet.
Dude, man, that's I mean, you got to use your resources. You got to use what you have, man. And the thing is, I was so informative. So, and it's like,
was that a school you used to go to, or what was that? I seen like a little white chalkboard or something, or a whiteboard in the background sometimes.
Yeah. I was going to school. It's just
okay.
I was. So I was there making my videos and stuff like that when I had the time and stuff like that. So like
like I said, man, I appreciate your show, man. I wish you continued success, man, and I hope you, man, one day hopefully get to that 1 million subscribers, bro. Which I know you will get to, bro.
Yeah, he will. He'll get there.
Yeah, he gonna get there, bro. Because with your knowledge, your patience, and your understanding, bro, hey, man, you're one of the best YouTube channels on here, bro.
Hell yeah.
I definitely appreciate that, man.
And not just the realest by far. Yeah.
Right. And not just that, your versatility, bro. It's not just about basketball. It's wrestling, football. Man, like whatever you would like to talk to.
Baseball.
Exactly. And the education that you have on that, man. Like, bro, I see you going places, bro. I really appreciate it.
The crazy part is, man, is that the weird thing about me when it comes to sports is I started out as a baseball fan and I got into basketball in the mid 90s. Like I would say tail end of like 93. That was like the last bit I saw Jordan in his prime. Then at some point I was watching a lot of Yankees baseball. And then I really didn't get into football until the 2000s. So I would say like 2003 around there. And from there, I just pretty much fell in love with it. I was like, I got to get myself knowledgeable. And I was like, you look at me now.
Yeah, man.
I'm always talking football. I'm always talking basketball.
But your baseball knowledge is impeccable, man.
Absolutely, bro.
Yeah.
No, man, I appreciate that. Like I said, man, I have a lot of baseball heroes that I used to watch, man. Like a lot of baseball heroes that I used to watch back in my day. I was just so, and it's like I said, man, it's like, you know, I really, like I said, appreciate you guys, man, as always. Like, I appreciate the support that you always guys give. And like I said, man, I'll talk anything, man. I'm thinking about
Jay. Man, I enjoy you as a host, bro. I appreciate you appreciate you too, bro.
Oh man, salute, man. It's a pleasure, man. Appreciate it, man.
And check this out, man. I'm about to do this for you guys. The next live stream, I'm gonna let you guys run it this time. I think you guys are educated and like I said, you guys are knowledgeable about the game. I'm gonna let you guys run the stream. So
you know what, Lou? I appreciate that. It's flattering, bro. But I'm not on your guys' level, man. Trust me. It's flattering, but I'm not on y'all level, man.
Sorry, you can't come up with a topic. You can't even ask a question. I'm pretty sure.
No, sir. I'm not on you guys' level, man. I appreciate it, though. I know my role, bro. I'm a role player, so I'm.
Oh man.
At least you're real about it, man.
Absolutely.
I respect that, bro. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I got you, man. All right, man. So I'm gonna try to see if I can do Rams Patriots tomorrow. I actually want to do that game. If I can't do that one, then preseason basketball is coming back, y'all. I will be doing Sacramento and Portland Trailblazers.
Hey, you should do the Pistons against your Knicks.
I was thinking about that too. I was
thinking about a topic where me and Jay was going at it about franchise players versus the second best player on a championship team.
Oh yeah. That would be great. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, man.
That's a great one right there. That would be great.
Franchise players versus second best players. Dude, I like it. I mean, that sounds like a great topic. I'll let you guys run that one. For real.
I'm good. I'll let you guys run it. I'm just going to be in the background, man.
I can run that. I'll do that one.
I'll do it, man. Y'all should go ahead.
I'll let you run it, bro. No doubt. I'll let you run that one. No doubt.
I'll run it. Yeah.
All right, guys, man. So from the Lewis Sports Network, shout out to my man Ryan, as we always says, man. We chat together, we stream together, we family for life. As I always say, man, bless up, live, laugh, love. Thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful night. And y'all always know my motto, man. I am God.
Peace, brother.
Has given St. Louis the lead. A dramatic, towering 3-run home run.
Murray out of the pocket. 7 seconds. 6 seconds. Murray keeps it downfield.
Kevin Durant way